morning, everybody. As you join, make sure you are tapping the screen and sharing out the live and doing all the good things so we get people in here. Matthew, good morning. Good to see you.
Yeah, definitely. Good to see you too.
That was a really good ending to Daniel's live this morning, wasn't it?
Oh, it was great. It's always good to see a physician end with such a positive position. It's sometimes lives just end on poor notes, and sometimes they end on wonderful notes.
Yeah, for sure. And that was just such a really good note to end on. I don't know if you've ever seen my show or not before, and it's perfectly okay if you haven't. A lot of people haven't, but I'm going to tell you how we do things really quick here. Okay. I'm going to start by asking you 10 icebreaker questions, and then we're going to invite people to come up and ask you questions. Sometimes they're kind of shy and they don't come up. Also, you guys, I will not get anybody in my live this early in the morning unless y'all tap that screen and share it out to 10 or 15 of your friends, because I'm never up this early. So nobody is expecting this. Let me share it out to a few of my people real quick. So I will ask them to ask you questions. So sometimes they'll just ask them in the chat and I'll read them out to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll come up, and then at the end of the show, we're going to play a game that everybody loves to hate. It's called Divine or Decline. So does that all sound good to you?
Sounds like a blast.
Okay, awesome. All right, you guys keep doing your thing. I do have a gift goal today. I also have a subby goal, so if you guys can help me out with that, that would be great. And please don't forget to gift Matthew, our amazing guest this morning. Good morning, Tahir. Good morning, Ms. Bratt. Good morning, C. Willie. Good morning, Just Peachy. None cares. No one cares. I'm sorry, I can't read this early. Mika, Brandon, thank you so much for joining, everybody. Glitter, good to see you. So good to see everybody this morning. Okay, here we go with the icebreaker questions. Okay, would you rather debate Aristotle or arm wrestle Einstein for an hour?
Probably debate Aristotle. I think that would be an interesting position to ask him questions about some of the things he was looking into at the time.
Yeah. I figured you would probably debate Aristotle. I thought you would probably do that. Good morning, Libra. Good to see you. I think that I would totally lose in a debate against Aristotle. So for me, I would probably arm wrestle Einstein, especially if it's older Einstein. I might be able to take it. I'm just saying. I don't know. Okay. If you could witness any historical event firsthand, but you couldn't change it, which one would you choose?
Oh, the eruption over Pompeii would be nice to witness. Be a nice explosive site.
Yeah, that would be something to see. I don't know what I would witness. I would want to witness something like somebody who's getting their comeuppance. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know which
Definitely.
person in history that I would want to watch go through that. There's a few I can think of, but I'm not sure which one. That would be what I would pick. I would think for a while on which one I want to see, and that's what I would want to witness. Okay, so beards through history have symbolized wisdom, rebellion, and fashion. Which do you think yours leans towards?
Oh, bit towards the rebellion side, probably. I was in the military for a long time, so freshly shaved every day is a requirement. It's nice not having to worry about that anymore. But I'd like to think there's some wisdom mixed in as well.
I think there's some wisdom mixed in for sure. For sure. Would you? Well, I don't have a beard, so I can't answer that question. but if I grew one, it would be 100% rebellion.
Mm.
uh, would you rather time travel 500 years into the past or 500 years into the future?
I would love to see the future, just to see what kind of progress humans can make. Humans have been able to overcome adversity so many times in history that I have no doubt we'll be able to overcome adversity again. And every time we do, we seem to step forward and try to be better. So I would love to see what kind of things humans can do to be better.
I agree. I would 100%. I would prefer to see the I would prefer to see the future. I don't think there's a lot in the past that I have a desire to see. Like I
Mhm.
do desire to see what happens in the future. Like I know I won't be able to, but that if that's something
Yeah.
that I always think like I want to know what they come up with. I want to know where we go. I want to know how far we advance. If you had to write a book tomorrow, would you choose philosophy, science, history, or another subject?
Oh, I would definitely be writing fiction. uh,
What?
when I'm talking about all these subjects, I'm talking about the science and the philosophy and the social positions and all of this. They're great and they're important. They can get extremely heavy at times. Whereas I'd love
Yeah.
to like put forward some good information. If I wanted to write just for the sake of writing, it'd probably be fiction. I might throw in some little nuggets of wisdom here and there, but we'll keep it lighthearted for the most part.
What kind of fiction do you like? Do you like science fiction, historical fiction? Like what's the genre of fiction that you
A
enjoy the
lot of
most?
sci-fi and fantasy fiction, that kind of stuff. I like the typical knights and dragons and team on an adventure. I like the space like exploration and overcoming adversity and like places never seen before, that kind of stuff. It's always fun to see.
Oh, for sure.
Mhm.
That is me too. I like science fiction. I do like nonfiction though because especially about topics that or a specific person that I didn't really know had some major impact that I wasn't aware of. You know,
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
like I think her name was Henrietta Lacks. I like did
Hmm.
not know her story. Read that book and was like blown away. So I do like nonfiction as well. But it would bore me to read a nonfiction on something I already knew the story about. Like that would just be boring to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, what's a scientific concept you think everyone should understand before graduating high school?
Oh, for graduating high school, basic physics, basic understanding of cause and effect in physics. Doesn't have to be like in depth and in the woods. I don't expect people to get into quantum physics or anything too crazy, but understand the impact of one cause leading to one effect and how it plays a role down the line. That will impact so many things, including the way you interact with those around you.
Mm-hmm.
The understanding of cause and effect in a more like profound way is going to really push forward into a lot of different things.
I agree. I have actually said that so many times because I taught all my children how to drive, and they did have basic concepts of physics. But I
Hmm.
remember as I taught them to drive, I thought everybody should know physics before you're allowed to get into a car. You have to understand how what you're doing in this vehicle can affect everything around you. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
agree 100%. Would you rather have Socrates as a mentor or Darwin as a drinking buddy?
Probably Socrates. Um, Darwin was great for a couple of things, but it's mostly just the contributions that he made that would have been what I like about the man. he opened the door to a lot of understanding and a lot of new thinking when it came to positions like evolution and adaptation and the change in genomes. But when it came to a lot of his other thoughts and his other positions, he wasn't exactly the best kind of guy, if you know what I mean. He had some fairly racist beliefs and some fairly demeaning
Yeah.
beliefs about people. So him as a drinking buddy might not be too good. But Socrates, he had some success in his life, so having him as a mentor wouldn't have been a bad thing.
And maybe you could parlay that into Socrates being a mentor and a drinking buddy. Like maybe it could
Yeah,
be both.
definitely.
If you could resurrect one forgotten philosopher and bring them into modern debates, who would it be?
Forgotten philosopher. That's
Yeah.
hard. Most of the philosophers that'll even come to mind are just fairly popular. Um, his name is escaping me. There was a philosopher who was known for being just he had a no F's given kind of attitude. I can't remember his name now. It's escaping me. He would sit around and he would drink and he would like live in a barrel. He thought that like personal possessions were nothing to be had. And when great philosophers would
Wow.
come to him and ask him questions, he'd respond by like, "Excuse me, you're standing in my sun," and just brush them aside. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. That's gonna bother me. But just he was just as good as any of the other philosophers as far as his ability to speak and his ability to comprehend and to think about things. But he had just this way of looking about life that was just different than anybody else's at the time. And he was not afraid to show it. If I remember what his name is, I'll make
if
sure to
if you think of his
say it.
name anytime during this show, just blurt it out, and I'll
Yeah,
be like,
pretty much, yeah.
I don't know any forgotten philosophers because I barely know any real philosophers because I was a very indoctrinated Christian and
Mm.
philosophy was like a no no. Like you're not supposed to think. Why would you think? That would be wrong. So I am actually just learning about philosophy through people like you and Ian and many others. And I actually have my first philosophy book. So I'm still learning about philosophy. Um, you guys, I am on the ninth question. If you have a question for Matthew, jump in the box. I'll be bringing people up any minute now. If you are shy or you don't have, a good headset or whatever, feel free to ask your question in the chat. You could do it all caps if you want to make sure I see it. And if you're over on YouTube, you can ask questions over there as well. I'll read them out. What's a historical myth you wish people would finally let go of?
Oh, historical myth. I wish people would let go of the myth of like specific scientists being like Christian. These myths that like Einstein was Christian or any of those things, because there's this desire to latch on to a secular position and then hold it as if it is a religious position. Right? They're like, well, this Christian, he thought up of relativity, so Christianity is so much better, but it had nothing to do with Christianity. It was purely science, and he wasn't a Christian to begin with. Same
Yeah.
thing can be said about like Newton and a few others. They they might have held religious beliefs, but their contributions to science were not religious. They were science based. So those types of myths can be a little frustrating. And the name was Diogenes. Dionysus is
Oh,
the guy's
okay.
name.
Okay, there we go. I knew you would think of it at a random moment.
Hmm.
So, um, yeah, I think that that's a very important myth to give up on. There's so many like weird historical myths, even like little ones I hate, like George Washington never told a lie and that kind of shit, like it's just ridiculous. And I don't know why people hold on to all those ridiculous things. I'm bringing Lobes up, but I have one more question for you, and then we'll let Lobes ask you a question. Okay, here you go. Hard hitting journalism here. If your beard could talk, what would it say, Matthew? What would your beard want to tell everybody?
Stop spilling food in me. No,
Good
it's
morning, Lob.
little humor
Good
there.
morning.
It'd probably stay pretty quiet because it doesn't want to tell the things it's seen.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. How are you doing
That's the
this
real
morning,
reason.
Lobes?
That's the real reason I cut my beard off. It knew too much. I had to start over. I'm doing good. So Matt, I realized I actually didn't realize who you were when we were on Daniel's that like a week or two
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
I followed you, and then I realized I had seen your lives before, and um, if it weren't for meeting you on Daniels, I don't think I would have ever really cared to watch you because the first couple of times I did, it was like I caught like a minute of like every time you were yelling at somebody. And I never saw longer
It
than that. And I was
happens.
like, this is just an angry guy. So I would always skip by it. But then once I met you on Daniels, I realized I realized that this was you. There's this, who you actually are. And then I watched more than just a single minute of your stream. And you're mostly calm and you're mostly pretty smart.
For the most part,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, you cover a pretty wide range of topics too. So I'm just wondering, what are your credentials? Like, did you go to college and get a degree in any specific thing? You know a lot about, um, or you seemingly, at least from my perspective, as a guy who knows absolutely fucking nothing about anything, you seem to know a lot about quantum mechanics. Did you study anything like that in college, or did you study anything like that, or is this all just from conversations you've had with people?
A lot of it's conversational. It's actually a good question because there's a point I like to make sure people know that I'm not afraid to say in public. I'm a high school dropout. And I dropped out of high school in my senior year, and I never graduated. Ended up joining the military without a high school equivalency. Like I had to get a
Oh,
waiver in order to join the military because I didn't have a high school equivalency. They're like, "Oh, take a couple of like community college courses just so you have something, and then we'll count that as good." I took like a math course and a science course just to get the credits and then joined. I didn't even get my GED until I was like after 30.
See, and this is the thing where there's really no excuse for anybody. Like, here I am asking, based on what I've heard you say, if you have a degree in something like quantum mechanics, and then you're turning around saying, I don't even have a high school diploma. How many
Hmm.
dumbasses we have on here? Anyway, that's
Yeah.
all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Like, there's no excuse for some of these people to be this daft.
true.
I always tell people it's never about what your education is, the structure of the education. That's never the point. The point is what you're willing to learn. And
Yeah,
sometimes learning is just talking to people. Sometimes learning is asking questions. Sometimes learning is just reading a book.
yeah.
But everybody
It's a
can
way
learn.
of thinking.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you know, like when you have something like the Khan Academy for completely free online and
Yeah.
stuff, there's really no excuse. And by the way, they have an app because I downloaded it and I'm using it and it's amazing. Lopes, did you have any other questions? You can stay up here if you want, but if you have other questions, feel free to ask Matthew.
I don't have any right
Okay.
now. We got somebody else who wants to ask a question,
Okay.
I think.
All right. Hey, Nanya, how are you today?
How are you guys? I'm so excited. Is
Doing
my
good,
sound
doing
good?
good. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Just making sure. Okay. So I've been deconstructing since around 2021. That's when I like kind of didn't see. I went down like the spiritual path, and then that didn't like resonate anymore. I still resonate. I love spirituality, the stars, universe, all that astrology stuff. But I kind of cut my family off for a while, and like the past like 2 years I've been like slowly coming around to more gatherings, in the group that they're very Christian, and they're really the reason why I see like the world, like when I see Christians I have like such a negative view of them because of like my upbringing and how hard it was to like be so curious and inquisitive growing up. So my question is, I'm also, another question because my therapist is also Christian. It's so strange. How do you navigate, like in family? Like even today, a conversation came up about how Texas is bringing, well, they brought prayer back in school and they were like celebrating it, and it was so triggering to me. Like, how do you guys navigate, like, if you even navigate, like, with family or people around you? Because every conversation isn't going to be like how it is when Christians, join alive and they're,
Right.
debate. Like, how do you do it with everyday, like, people with family, like, in situations?
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer because I know that for a lot of people these are touchy subjects. Some people have parents that are far more conservative than others. Some people have parents that are far more religious than others. Some people's parents are just more understanding than others. I lucked out with my family. My family's a very understanding group of people. They don't judge based off of the way I believe or the way I speak or the things I talk about. They hold their own beliefs, but they don't push it. They don't try to indoctrinate my kids or try to push me to go back to church or anything like that. So I don't have any problems with that. Sometimes I do have issues with like my father and his political positions, but rarely do I have any problems on the religious side.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to like positions, like again, like I live in a place where they're pushing for religion in schools as well. If if I was ever like have to breach that topic, I'd probably kind of brush aside the points where they're making, where they're so happy that this stuff is back in school. And then as soon as the conversation starts to dull down a little bit, I'll bring up something like, "Hey, did you see how they're ensuring the kids in some of these other countries are allowed to pray and kneel towards Mecca and pray during school. And that allows them to really hold their faith in Islam. Just see how people respond
Mm-hmm.
and see how people immediately go, well, they shouldn't be doing that to the kids in school. They shouldn't be making
Mm-hmm.
kids kneel in school and pray to Islam in school. I'm like, but they're praying to Jesus and God here. Why wouldn't they pray towards Mecca over there? Just watch people spin in circles trying to justify the the indoctrination of children in schools.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
once
Special
they're
J.
shown their position, it's kind of hard for them to be able to make an honest argument for it.
Yeah, and growing up like that is so interesting because it's, I feel like it's just now something that I'm fully understanding. Because when I was growing up, I was like, with my parents in agreement, like, yeah, they really shouldn't
Yeah.
be taking prayer out of schools.
Hmm.
Like, we
Me
need God
too.
in school, right? Like, we shouldn't be separating church and state. And now, like, the conversations are coming up now that my son is like entering kindergarten, and I'm just like, I absolutely do not want my son doing it. I don't even want him pledging allegiance. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want
No,
Yeah,
him
right?
doing
yeah,
What?
anything like that. Is just so insane. And we definitely had to pledge when I was in school, at least.
Yeah, me too.
But my mom, like I was telling my mom, I'm like, yeah, like, eventually I do want to like help people detransition, not in such a like a hateful way, because I feel like that's where we lose it as well. And like, because because we've been so hurt by this religion, and well, not by the religion, by the people that used it incorrectly, I would say, it, we go about it thinking that everybody is like that. And I was telling my mom, I'm like, yeah, I really want to help people like transition. She was just like, oh well, you're doing the devil's work. So like we don't have those conversations. Like me and my family, we don't. I try to steer away from the conversations, but they are textbook. Like I would say it's so crazy. Like a lot of the Christians are also Trump supporters. Like it does seem
Yes.
to be that way, and unfortunately, also seeing that in a black family is very confusing. But
I can
it's
imagine.
just yeah. I had like so many questions growing up, and it's just like to see on the other side, like they didn't even have the answers. They weren't even reading the Bible. It's just yeah. So I guess for me, it's just like I try to. For now, I just try to like stay away like from those conversations. I just bypass it because you don't want to actually have those conversations. And I also was like I was telling my therapist, I was that Christian that, I didn't read the Bible. So I was a backslider, or, so I don't really, I can't, I'm not that kind of, atheist where I can like battle you with scripture. I just know it's just not right. Like the way that we grew up, it's not right to view the world so dark and scary and just be afraid of yourself. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys.
One of the reasons I insisted on getting my kids into a private school, I got them into a secular private school, and I'm willing to do the extra work to ensure they're able to do that. I have to drive them close to an hour each way, 2 times a day, just to get them to and from school, so
Wow.
they can go to a school I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff with.
Yeah. I definitely might look into that because I don't.
Nanya,
Hey,
you
Nanya.
can. Oh, I'm sorry, Libra. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I know what I had to do with my family was I had to put down like a hard boundary with that. Like we're not gonna talk about religion, y'all. We just don't. 'Cause my dad is hardcore Christian. I have a sister that's a Muslim,
I'm
so
outnumbered.
that's a whole other thing.
I'm
And
outnumbered.
I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, you just no religion, just none at all. But yeah. Oh, Crystal,
I'm outnumbered.
Lobes, Matthew. Hi.
Hi, Libra. Nanya, I'm outnumbered in my family too. And to be honest with you, I don't live really close to most of my family. So I just don't really talk to them very much because if we talked, it would always be about religion. That is what they talk about all the time. But usually I just politely nod and don't really let them, like, I don't give them anything. You know what I mean? Like, so after a while, they start talking about something else. Like, I'm not going to give you anything.
I feel like they feed on it. It's like they're vultures, like vampires. Like it's like they're trying to get you, and I'm like, I'm not gonna.
Oh, they definitely are. They
They throw
definitely are.
bones. Like I moved an hour and a half away because it's like it's cool, but it's like it's only enough, a couple sips I could take it at before I gotta get going. Yeah, that's where the social battery really comes in. It's extremely exhausting being around those.
And I have said very Christianese things to my Christian relatives, okay? Like, I will say, well, I don't really like to talk about this because it's a personal relationship, right?
Oh.
What
Nice.
you gonna do? You know, now they're gonna leave me alone for a minute. So,
At least for a little while. They'll leave you alone for a little while, yeah.
They'll
for
be
a
back.
little while. But I'll just use their Christianese back on them. Libra,
Oh,
did you have a question
Crystal.
for Matthew this one? Yeah.
You know Justin's channel?
Yeah.
Ever since I heard about Doug, I've said stuff about that too. Like, they'll bring up religion, like, 'cause my sister recently had a baby, so there was that. And, they talked about religion, and I was like, well, Doug does not approve of me worshiping others.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Matthew, I do have a question for you from Chad. This is from Tahir. How do you recenter after an especially tense conversation with a guest?
I have a fairly good skill for like compartmentalizing positions. Um, it came from a background of bottling up things, and then that found out how frustrating and wrong that was to do, and how troublesome that could be. But when I was in the military, I learned if I was able to compartmentalize rather than bottling, I can keep things separate yet still approach them. So I can drop a conversation immediately within seconds and move forward to a new one without ignoring the fact that it happened, which allows me to be able to recenter and to decompress and to be able to go over things later. I You ever heard of the concept of a mind palace? The idea of having a visual or a mental representation of like a room or a home or something, and then each place in that home you put categories of information. So if you ever need to remember something, you're like, oh, I left my information on statistics by the front door on the key on the key ring or something. So you just think about going and picking up that information off the key ring, and you can remember some of those statistics information. When I'm compartmentalizing, it's like a warehouse of boxes, each one labeled. I can just say, okay, this stuff goes into this box for now, and I can take care of it later. I don't need to take care of it right this moment,
I have
and
to
it
know
allows me
something,
to move
y'all.
forward.
I have to know something. What is the weirdest thing that like y'all have ever heard on your lives? Because recently I had someone from actually Matt's live. um, he was like trying to debate whether a Christian and a deist were the same thing to me.
Oh, I was
Like
just gonna
his
ask if you wanted to ask that question because I saw it in
yeah,
chat.
his
Oh, go ahead.
he had started talking about how like the US was founded by Christians. I was like, "No, two of them were deists. They're not the same thing." And he ended up
Mhm.
like going into this like he sent me messages about it. Like how they were the same thing. I'm like, "No, they're nothing alike." But so he was like he kept sending me Bible verses and stuff that he thought backed him up. I'm like, "That's not what that's talking about at all."
Yeah. So when we poke into like what it is to be like a deist, it's just the position of believing in a higher power. It's super generic, it's super basic. There's no added information to it. So theists are deists. They do believe in a God. They do believe in higher power, but not all deists are gonna be Christian. Because you're gonna have deists of every walk of life. So this is where
Yeah,
it gets confusing.
he was like, "Well, they believe in God." I'm like, a very generic God.
Hmm.
It could be, that God that made things then fucked off and never said a word again. Um,
Yeah.
or it could just be that thing that's sort of out there looking at stuff. Not even necessarily us, just there. But not your God. We're not talking about your God.
Yeah. Then you
Cause,
have
cause yours
concepts
is
like Spinoza's God, which is just
Yeah.
basically the laws of the reality we live in and how they function.
yeah, like
I,
I've never understood how people go from like Christian is deist, and then there's like Christian is Allah, and Christian like I'm like, how do y'all
because
make
the
these
world
connections?
is
Like,
centered around them. Don't you know this, Libra?
I've
I
I've
had a
actually
guy
heard
in
them say,
chat.
yeah, I've heard
Hang
them
on one
say that
second.
like the entire Hindu pantheon is just based around Christ. I'm like, where did you get this idea?
Yeah.
I had this guy in Daniel's chat the other day who was really mad that this other guy in chat said that he was agnostic atheist. Now, the guy who got mad is an atheist, and he would not leave the agnostic atheist alone. He was like, "So you're just a Christian? So you're just as scared of boogeyman?" And I'm like,
Oh,
"Why
I've
are you
heard
going
that.
off on this guy?" And he was like, "Because if you're are you agnostic to leprechauns? Why is he agnostic? It's just him coping." And I was like, this is the most ridiculous argument I've
They're
heard
not
so
even the same
far.
position.
It's so
They're not the same
ridiculous.
position.
So
But I've
yeah.
Yeah.
heard that from people that like identify as hard atheists, where they're like you either definitely believe or you definitely don't, and you can't like. And apparently to them, like if you don't believe, then you can't also like lack knowledge on this. You just
Hmm.
sort of you don't believe, so you don't, so you just know that it's not there. I'm like, that's not the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's not how that
Yeah.
works. It's
Yeah,
a
I've
very
had I've
wide
had
range.
entire
And,
I've had entire arguments about that too, because I'm an agnostic atheist, and I talked to Matt about this, but I also have like animistic leanings. He and I had a conversation about the whole energy and spirit thing. He
Hmm.
was actually the first live that I went on.
That's cool.
So yeah, I was like, I don't have any like God beliefs, but I'm agnostic atheist. I came from Christianity. Of course, the last thing I want is I have this God.
Yeah,
Because then it
this
just sounds like I camp hopped.
This thing about the atheist, agnostic atheist, all this shit. This is the type of thing that derails conversations and just bogs it down into semantic bullshit. And
Yeah.
like, whenever somebody, usually it's a Christian, I think that they don't realize it maybe, but they're just strawmanning the position of atheism to attack a very specific niche of it. You have to say that you are 100% sure that God does not exist for my argument to work, and so they'll define atheism as this. But one thing I'm gonna start trying to do, I thought of this the other day. So they're right about that in logic. In logic, there's two positions. You got a positive and the negation. So you could say that like atheism in logic is a stance that there's no God, and then the positive would be like there is that would be a theist. But in philosophy, there is this spectrum where you can be an agnostic atheist, and logic agnostic is like just what's the word? It's like a pause. Like you're refraining from answering the question, but the two stances are still they still need to be answered. Is one or the other, but that's not what we're doing in philosophy. So I'm going to try to use that to grant. I think it'd be a good idea to grant like this is what you're saying. As long as we understand what everybody's position is, we can move past these semantics.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like I
Sometimes.
don't know for a fact that there isn't one out there. I just know that I haven't seen evidence to believe that there is one.
Well,
Like
I'm
enough
an
evidence to hold an actual belief that there is.
Yeah.
I'm an theist with an I, so I actually think that we haven't even defined what a God is, and until we do, I see no reason to entertain it personally.
There's not a clear enough definition for the word to
not-
be able to say
no.
whether it exists or not. Yeah.
Exactly.
I've also heard the whole an atheist is someone who hates God. I'm like that's not what that means either.
But I don't
Um,
identify as any. I just know I'm not Christian.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
You don't have to.
And never
Nobody
will be.
has to put you in a box, okay?
That's
You
right.
do whatever. It took a long time for me to put myself in the theist because I was like, no, I don't feel like that. I don't feel like that. But then one day somebody said what this was, and I was like, that's how I feel. That is how
I'm like the square peg in the circular hole for me for like my family because not only am I not religious in any way,
Yeah.
I'm also like autistic and epileptic and I have PTSD and I have ADD, so I'm all kinds of neurodivergent on top of that.
Exactly.
And they're like, what is this child?
And I think that's what impacted a lot of us to like be so inquisitive and ask so many questions because our brains don't function the same way as people who suppress like their neurodivergency. So it's like
I never could though because mine has been around since I was little. It became more obvious when I started having seizures because then my brain is like double impacted by stuff, and has to constantly rewire itself. But they
Good
like
morning,
at first they thought it was like bipolar disorder and all this other stuff, and they're like, wait, no, you're just autistic. I'm like, well, thanks for figuring that out as I'm like 21 and I've kind of already gathered enough.
I feel like we need to have more conversations about how Christianity can have a negative impact on obviously your neurodivergencies, like how that
like I had my dad try to get me exorcised when I got diagnosed with epilepsy. Like this dude really thought that it was a demon. I'm like he took me to the doctor and they're like there's nothing wrong with her except that she has epilepsy.
But also
so he takes me to church and like
the impact
apparently that can cure it.
Also, I definitely agree that would have an impact, but also like that, you know how like if you're constantly thinking about if the trumpets are gonna sound, like how that can cause like very heavy, feelings of anxiety and like you're constantly living in fear of your life because you think Jesus is gonna come back one day. Like that, those kind of things can definitely impact your anxiety and cause like severe depression and cause you.
Oh, I have an anxiety and depression disorder, but that got so much better.
Can I talk for a minute? I want to reel this back in because today it's about Matthew, and I want to get back to asking Matthew questions. So if you guys have a question for Matthew, that's okay. But if not, I have some questions questions for Matthew, and I want to ask him some questions, okay? Matthew, first of all, were you a Christian to begin with, or have you always been an atheist?
Yeah, I was born in a Christian family. We were Episcopal primarily. We spent some time in non-denominational churches as well, but primarily Episcopal. And I was a Christian until I was about 30.
All right, cool. And what was like one of your first beliefs that you seriously started to question?
I started my deconstruction
Hey,
journey when
Jay.
I was about 23. I got a Bible from my family as a family heirloom, and I would read that Bible to try to be kind of closer to like my grandfather and my father. They had written little notes inside the Bible, and as I was reading that Bible, I would find things that didn't quite ring true to me or didn't quite seem right to me, and I started asking questions about it. So some of the first things that I started having like worries or questions about was the inconsistencies in the Gospels and the small little differences in the stories that didn't seem to make sense. It's where I think the main part of my deconstruction started.
Hey Matt, I'm fairly new to TikTok anyway, but when did you start streaming?
Oh, I've
Like
been
doing lives?
streaming for probably 3 years now, I think, doing lives.
Nice. I actually thought about doing it, but then I'm like, well, nobody wants to just listen to my voice the whole time.
Yeah, you'd be
You
surprised.
should
So,
I kind of
go
thought the same.
live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
go
mean,
live. Don't. There's always people who want to hear what you have to say and talk to you and interact with you.
I have a question for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, go ahead,
Um,
Anya.
I was never, the type of Christian that read the Bible and left Christianity. That's interesting to me. Like, can you talk about like some of the things that you saw that made you say, yeah, this is not really making too much sense to me?
Sure. So, going to like primarily Episcopal churches, I don't know if anybody's ever like described an Episcopal church to you, but it's usually described as like Catholic light or diet Catholicism. It's really easygoing. It's not near as harsh or structured as some faith systems or some denominations of Christianity. So that wasn't ever an issue. But when I started reading the Bible, I would say like this story doesn't sound real. Like when you hear the flood of Noah, when you hear the Garden of Eden, when you hear like Lot and his wife, you hear Job and the things that happened to him, like this doesn't sound real. I don't think these things actually occurred. So you're already questioning the basis behind the story, but then you get to the stories about Jesus, the actual gospels. This is what is supposed to be like the fundamental like grounding of Christianity is Jesus's life and his crucifixion and his rising. This is supposed to be the basis of it, and the books that hold this information don't match. They can't agree with each other. Like they'll get general parts of the story similar enough that it's fine, but so many things just don't fit. This is the information we have about the key figure, Jesus. This is all we have about him. Why do people believe this? So I would ask questions. I would go to like a chaplain in the military, or I'd go to friends and family, go to people in the church themselves, and ask them. I always got the same answers. Well, God's ways are above ours. Who are we to question the ways of God? And all these thought terminating answers. So I just had to research it myself. The more I researched, the less I believed.
Yeah, and I remember asking my mom, like, I don't feel this thing that everybody is saying that they're supposed to feel, like at a young age. And
Hmm.
she didn't really have an answer for me. I obviously didn't have the knowledge I have now, but she just, only thing she just prayed really hard for
Yeah.
me to like feel that. But it's still, I have more questions. And I never picked up the Bible to actually read it to like see, more. If that's, I think that's probably why it took me so long to like really like detach from it because I never actually picked up the Bible. And there's so many Christians like that. You just
Yeah,
follow
definitely.
what our parents told us.
Yeah, definitely.
I have to ask this question just because it's something I hear a lot. Um, Matt, do you ever call your beard like a flavor saver?
Flavor saver, a soup strainer. Yeah. These are the things that pop out every now and then. Uh, what was it?
Yeah,
A face filter?
uh,
Yep.
my former stepdad's father had one too. He called his mustache that too. But so he
Hmm.
always ended up like walking around with food on his face, and I'm like, you know what? He's like, it's my flavor saver. But
Yep.
I was like, does he say it, or is it just my weird former stepdad's father?
I've heard it plenty of times. It's not usually the way I'd refer to it, but I do enjoy the puns. Yeah. You gotta remember, I'm a dad, so dad jokes
Dad
are
jokes.
key. We need dad jokes. It's one of the things that you learn once you become a dad is you learn exactly what it takes for a joke to become a dad joke. And
Yeah.
once you understand the difference between just a joke and a dad joke, things are
The
so
funny
much
part is,
easier.
I'm the aunt to 8, and I know what a
Yeah.
dad joke is, but I have no kids.
Yeah, it's fun.
um,
The position where a joke becomes a dad joke is the moment where the punchline becomes apparent.
yep.
That was horrible. Lobes, thanks for coming up. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear you say that. No, I'm just kidding. Matthew, so as you start deconstructing, you're reading the Bible, you're starting to figure things out. Um, do you start then reading a lot of science and philosophy? How did you get into all the science and philosophy knowledge that you have now? Like what did you do? Like what drew you in there?
Well, a lot of the science I had like a baseline understanding of prior to just from general interest. I also, my career field in the Navy was a technical career field. I worked with radio systems, radar systems. I was an electronics technician, so a lot of troubleshooting and repair of like high-tech electrical equipment. So I had to have at least a general understanding of certain aspects of science from that. But when it comes into like the more specific information, a lot of that comes from conversational knowledge. Talking to people who I know have more information than me, and I'm capable of gathering good information from them. I can double check some of the things that they've said to make sure I'm not getting like somebody blowing smoke up my tailpipe or anything along those lines. But most of the time, it's just what I can learn from people. And as long as I'm getting good information, I can just build off of it. And after 40 years of doing that, I have a fairly wide range of shallow knowledge that lets me talk about almost anything.
My mom noticed that I've been watching philosophical stuff, and she's like, well, where did this come from? I'm like, well, I started watching Deconstruction Zone first, and Matt's
Yep.
philosophical. and uh, so, like, yeah, I noticed y'all doing that, and it's like, I love it. Like, I do. Any suggestions on like philosophers or like or just general books I should read, like to help with that kind of stuff?
Like books wise, uh, I wouldn't be able to like point you towards books for philosophy so much,
Or
but
like in general, like
conversational. There's a book called it's like How to Have Impossible Discussions. Uh, it's a guide to like street epistemology. I can't remember who wrote this. Let me look it up for you so I can get you an author name. Mm,
oh, send it to me in a message.
yeah.
I- my short-term memory is
I
awful and I
still
don't
want
have
him to
paper nearby.
say it though, because remember, other people want to hear the answer, so
Yes.
I
Yeah,
Yes.
still
Yes.
want him
Yes.
to say it.
I kind of want to hear it too.
So the book is How to Have Impossible Conversations, and it's a very practical guide, is what it's called. And it's by James N. Lindsay and Peter Boghossian. And these are street epistemologists. They talk about ways to approach conversations, how to ask questions, how to like guide a conversation in a way that is like productive, that doesn't put the person you're talking to on the defensive, so you can actually get information and answers for questions. And it's a lot of like self-reflexive kind or self-reflective kind of questioning. Like, what is the thing you believe in? Why do you believe in this thing? How does this thing compare to this thing? It's just allowing the person to give the position, but you guiding them in the conversation that allows you to keep the discussion moving. It's a very kind way to speak that allows the conversation always move forward.
Yeah,
Libra, there's a book that I don't know if you know who Fee is here on the app. She was on my show earlier
Yeah.
this week with Mac Lester and
Mhm.
Bort.
she's
But
she
yeah,
also
she's on.
she does with Thinker too.
Yeah, and she often recommends. I believe it's Critical Thinking Skills for Dummies by Martin Cohen. And even though that's not a philosophy book, it teaches you literally how to critical think, and that's going to help you with philosophy, logic, and other aspects. You know.
And well, I mean, like I said, it didn't have to be philosophy, just in general. And like,
Yeah.
send me the books in messages because, unfortunately, years of seizures have like made my short-term memory terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like it helps me to be able to look at them when I look for them.
Matthew, how do you handle the question that so many Christians come up thinking, you know, is a sound argument that morality comes from God?
There's a couple way to approach it, a couple ways to approach it, and it depends on who I'm talking to. I usually get a pretty quick feed or feel on like how a person is when I first start talking to them, and if I feel that there's somebody who can understand a good like sound reasoning around things and understand questioning well, I'll go one way. Otherwise, I'll just try to explain it in Barney terms. But I start talking about like, well, why do you believe that morality comes from a God? Well, do you think God like says something is moral because it is moral, or do you think it's moral because God says so? And this dichotomy, this position of what makes something the correct thing to do is going to get them thinking. Because if something is only moral because God says it's to be moral, then you're talking about obedience at this point. You're talking about a
We're also
subjective
talking about
position. Hmm.
subjective morality entirely.
Yeah, so you got this subjective opinion that just falls to obedience. But if you hold to a position that what is correct is already correct, but God has knowledge that it's correct and is just giving you that knowledge, then what is making something correct comes from something external to the God anyway. The God just has knowledge of it. The God is capable of gathering knowledge. There's nothing to say that a human isn't capable of coming to the same conclusion based off of the results of the action.
So
We can
Yeah.
develop our own morality.
how do we get more morality, Matthew? Like, what would you say is the impact if it's not God?
Sure, I hold it to being like an evolutionary quirk, much like consciousness would be. The ability to be aware of oneself and surroundings is going to be more beneficial for reproduction and survival than just being an automaton, something that doesn't have some sort of mind. And that would be a good reason for us to have consciousness. And then humans inherently are a social species. We've lived in group structures for hundreds of thousands of years. It's not something new. So if we show that any actions that are taken by that societal structure are either going to help the society, be neutral to the society and not matter, or it's going to harm the society. So if you have actions that are continually helping the society is going to be strong, and they're going to teach their offspring those types of actions. And that's going to grow and it's going to become the norm. It's going to become the position people expect to see and understand how helpful it is. If you have actions that are like detrimental to a societal structure, this can very easily lead to the downfall of a society. And if the society falls, there's no longer offspring to teach those actions to. So those actions fall to the wayside and disappear. So you're left with the good things being very similar to the good things everywhere.
Hey, you guys, thank you so much for the 37,000 likes, the shares, and all the gifts. If you can keep tapping the screen, our goal every time I go live is 100,000 likes, and we're going to be live for about 2 more hours. I do have a gift goal of the hand hearts this morning. When you guys send gifts and go to my links and do things up there and stuff, it helps me go live more often and be able to do more Decon Q&A with CrystalJae with great creators like Matthew. Tomorrow I will have Deconstruction Zone Justin here at 11 a.m. So if you like these type of shows, please support the show by sending your gifts, tapping the screen, sharing out the live, and doing all of those good things. Thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate it. And also, thank you so much for everybody on YouTube. Absolutely. You know what? If you can't afford to gift, don't gift. I don't want you ever. It's not required. It is always appreciated, but never required. Matthew, was there a favorite Bible story you had when you were a Christian that later you were like, what? Why did I ever like this story?
Sure. I didn't really have like a favorite Bible story. I liked the the Exodus story as the like becoming free of the people. Nunez actually got it like spot on. One of the movies I really liked when I was younger was Prince of Egypt, and I just thought it was a beautifully made story, a beautifully made movie. The idea of bringing their people to freedom was a strong like story. But the more you learn
I'm
about,
gonna mute you, Libra, because we can't hear Matt. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you're good. The all the extra background stuff that happens with the Exodus narrative, the plagues, the the slavery itself, the positions of like just violence against the peoples, those those kind of get brushed aside a little bit and they don't get talked about. The more I grew, the less I could ignore them. So now I'm not as attached to that story as I used to be. I think that's a pretty harsh story to try to follow.
I'm sorry, I
Was
had to
that
do a puzzle
was
there.
that the story? Was the Prince of Egypt story? That was also the story with the firstborn and the blood of the lamb on the door. Am I mixing
Yeah,
up? Oh, that
nope,
was the
that's
same.
it. Yep.
Okay. So they was doing rituals. Okay, got it.
That's how they
You
were
know,
to protect
I never understood
the
that.
firstborn.
That was one of my questions even as a child. Like, I always tell people I feel like I was deconstructing all along because I had so many questions. And unfortunately, being indoctrinated, I allowed apologetics to soothe me for a while until I got older and I was like, that's not working anymore. It's not doing the trick for me. But I never understood how an all-knowing God needed you to mark your door.
Or
Like,
why an all-knowing God would regret his actions.
yeah, like I
Yeah.
couldn't understand these things. I was like, wait, so you're gonna go unalive all these babies and these toddlers and everything, but you need me to mark my door so you know that I'm not one of the people. Don't you know that already? Don't you know me? Didn't you know every hair on my head before I was born? I thought that's the story I've been told, but somehow I need to mark my door or you're gonna screw up and unalive the wrong baby.
Yeah. Wasn't I judged prior to creation?
Yeah.
I always feel like such a hypocrite when I say this, but mine was actually Job. Like growing up, because my dad was a hyper Christian, so like for me this was told as, they didn't read the whole story. They read
Yeah.
specific parts, and then it was like, well, this is what happens when you have like the most bestest, most awesomest faith in God. And then when I started deconstructing and I read it myself, I was like, this is the most hideous thing I've ever seen in my life. I was like, how did I even like this story at all?
When I was very young, I was taken away from my family. I had 7 brothers and sisters and a mom and dad, and I was taken away from my family, and I went to live with a new family. And I heard the story of Job, and I was always told, but Job got a new family. And I thought, I never fucking asked for a new family. I didn't want a new family. I wanted my family. And I don't know why
Yeah.
God would think it was okay to give me a different family. And I hated that story so much because of it. Let me tell you something. If you've ever lost your family members, you know damn well you don't want a new family member back. You want the one you lost. So Job's a
Absolutely,
stupid
yeah.
story. Let's see. So, what do you have an earliest memory of, like, what your first doubt was in the biblical narrative? Was there one where you just were like, "This one first got me"? I was like, "There's no talking snake," or whatever. Was there something like that?
Sure. That really, none of those ones really bothered me because even then I was fine with like just allegory. It didn't bother me. But there's there's one verse that was important to both my father and my grandfather. They had both marked that verse as something worth reading within this Bible that they passed down to me. And that would be John 14:13 and 14. And that's the verse that discusses like prayer to Jesus and anything you ask for in my name
Mm-hmm.
for the glory of the Father will be done. And I'm sitting here going, but I've asked for understanding in the past. I've asked for just clarity. I've asked for a revelation. I've asked for some sort of position to help me know that what I believe in is real. And I've never received an answer. And as far as I know, like a person coming to God and truly believing is always for the glory of the Father. That would always glorify the Father. Why wouldn't I receive that if I'm asking for this in Jesus' name? And that always kind of like hit me a little hard because a lot of people claim to get revelation. A lot of people claim to have that relationship with God in a way that nobody else can understand because it's such a personal relationship. And why was it that I believed for so many years and nothing? Didn't seem right.
Uh, Looking back, what was probably like the one of the worst things you ever said as a Christian? Like as a justification for something?
I didn't really use Christianity to justify anything. My belief system wasn't like that ingrained with the rest of my life, but I did have problems and poor beliefs in the rest of my life as a Christian, but they weren't necessarily due to Christianity. I held some fairly conservative views for a while. Had some like homophobic, misogynist tendencies. I had some transphobic tendencies, and even a little bit of racist tendencies that I didn't even think about when I was younger. It just seemed like the norm, and some of that came from like the people that I knew from my churches. And when I had to deconstruct Christianity, I had to deconstruct all of my beliefs, all of them, and I had to get rid of any beliefs that weren't beneficial. So I've spent a lot of time trying to deconstruct those negative positions.
I think the
Oh,
worst one
same.
that I hear is everything glorifies God. Uh, because, and I say that's probably the worst one because recently there was actually a body found in a field
Hmm.
not far from my area. She had been there for like a week and she had kids, but they had never found her. She was found like half eaten. And I I had a Christian tell me that everything glorifies God. I'm like, and what? How do you put this next to everything glorifies God? This woman has
Well,
been missing
they're
for a week and
Yeah.
everything.
they're misquoting the Bible anyway when they say that, and it kind of bothers me because the actual verse says all things work towards the glory of God for those who are called according to his purpose. So it's not all things work towards the glory of God. It's only for those who are called according to his purpose.
Mhm.
They never finish the entire verses. Just like when they say, don't throw your pearls before swine. The actual saying, it basically says, don't throw your pearls before swine because they might trample you. So, like, they don't want to finish the verses because then it changes the meaning of what they're saying. I do have
Yeah.
somebody coming up. He's having a little trouble connecting, but Ronnie's joining us. Hi,
Oh,
Ronnie.
Yeah,
How are
you
you
can
this
drop me if
morning?
you want.
Oh, okay, Libra. Thank you for coming up, you guys. Big
I'm
W in the
doing
chat for Libra. It was
fantastic.
so nice
Definitely.
talking to you.
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Did you have a question for Matthew?
Yeah. Why are so many people gay?
Really? Why are you coming up for
Because
that? Please
people
tell
love people, and all love is good, right?
I, my granddaughter is the LGBT.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
She's a trans woman.
That's amazing.
That's
I hope
awesome.
she's having a great time. I hope she's really coming into herself and is able to be who she is.
I hope so too.
Good.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Ronnie. Have a good day.
I knew it.
Um,
But
did you?
Crystal, you can drop me too. I'm still gonna listen in. I'm at work.
Okay, Nanya, thanks for coming up. I really appreciate you guys. The guest box is open. If you have questions for Matthew, just request up. I'll be happy to bring you up. Let me go over. If you guys, that's if you guys have questions over on YouTube, I am checking in over on my YouTube regularly, so feel free to ask your questions there as well.
Oh, thank you.
Good morning,
Definitely,
you
definitely.
know.
Good
Hey, how's it
morning.
going?
Well, it's like 11:08, so okay, yeah. I'm on my sleep cycle's so off right now, y'all. I'm usually nocturnal, and I got up at 8 o'clock this morning.
It's 9:08 for me, and Matthew was worth getting up early for. I got up
Oh, I
early
appreciate
for
that.
him this morning, and so yeah, it's still morning for me, and I'm still drinking my coffee.
Can I ask Matthew something real quick as a
Oh,
service?
you go right ahead. You go right
just-
ahead.
I just wanted to identify each other, Matthew. What service were you in?
U.S. Navy.
All right, you say ET.
Yep, electronics technician. That's it.
Can I ask what rank? I'm trying to paint this picture in my mind.
I separated as an E5.
Okay, so did I. After 12 years, I was a deck seaman. My first three on the USS George Washington, maiden voyage, and then a second pump, and then I went to corps school. I struck out of deck department, right?
Sure, yeah.
But every good deck seaman or bosun mate has an ET and an engineer in their back pocket. Remember that phrase?
You better, yeah. And if
I
you're
just wanted-
smart, you make friends with supply.
I just wanted to touch base with you and fill in. I'm also a free retired former VA employee. I would work directly for the Chief of Health Administration, helping
Nice.
fix compensation and pension, etc. So if you ever need any advice or anything like that, or just want to sit and talk and speculate, I'd be happy to do that for you for free.
Sure, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. I actually have some buddies that I talk to a lot who work for an organization called Vet Guardians that do a lot of work in that kind of field as well.
Cool. It's just about my 100% is about almost 4,000 a month. It's a little more because I have a wife, a spouse.
Yeah.
But I'd be happy to walk you through it as quickly or as slowly as you want to if you haven't already gotten connected.
Yeah, I'm sitting at 70% right now.
Let's get you to 100. That's like $1,000 or so more dollars. So
appreciate you, man.
It's just a free offer. And I like hearing you talk too, and we mesh. Whatever. I'm just a sappy old dude.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Yeah.
Did you want to ask Matthew any questions about his deconstruction, philosophy, religion, anything else?
No, not really. I mean, to each their own.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't require any religion in my life. Matter of fact, the only thing I'm religious about is the bad things I do. I'm a preacher. I mean, seriously, but I was lucky. Daddy was a liberal Methodist preacher in South Georgia, right? And he luckily married my mom after me and my sister had already been born. And that dude was a bad dude. But you know, he was gentle with me and never forced anything on me. About 13 or 14, I developed my own need to understand things because I didn't like the way people were acting in the churches we were in because I would hide and listen to them talk shit about my dad, um, especially the offering counters. But I guess that kind of tells you my upbringing. I have my belief, but that's me. That's personal to me. As a historical reference, though, scripture can be fairly important. And I'm going to say this and drop, or at least shut up, whatever you want. Um, if you go to, I'm sorry about this, Matthew, but it's your book. If you go to the book of Matthew and read about Philip and the eunuch,
It's your book, Matthew.
but seriously, Philip and the eunuch tells the story about Philip who got pulled over by a eunuch demanding to be baptized, but they define eunuch, and he was from. He worked for the queen of that major African. Um, I don't know what you call it, state or country of Egypt. He worked for somebody high up. But what happened was, you know, eunuchs were either uh, born that way, and that's typically what we refer to as trans, right? Born that way because it's an endocrinological condition. It's a cyclical effect between the hyperpituitary axis and the endocrine system. All right, it's just the way people are made sometimes, and it refers to the eunuch in three different ways: those who are born that way, those who are made that way, you know, like to be servants or whatever, and then those who choose that way to glorify God. So this whole trans movement is biblically endorsed. Isn't that crazy?
Yep.
Well, not only that, but if you ever look into like the gender identities that were held
Yep.
by the ancient Israelite people, you're gonna find out that they had many.
8 different genders.
Just off the just just like to start with, they had like Zakir, Nekava, Androgynos, Tantum, Lonit, and Saris. What would
So
be
you're
just
smarter than
six
me. I didn't
that
know all
that
that.
I
That's
that I can bring, but they each had different meanings and different positions, and they were all recognized. So it was never a binary.
I love that you know the names. I didn't know that, so now I'm going to go look them up because I feel challenged. I'm saying thank you in a smart
I,
ass way.
I use these positions a lot in my discussions, so it's pretty good to
Have
either
you
have them readily available or just off the top of my head, one or the other.
have any of y'all read Barclay's commentaries? He's a fairly liberal, what do you call it, expert on scripture, but he's the one my dad turned me on to.
Well, I
No,
can't
I
say
don't
that
think I've
I'm
read
familiar with
Barclays.
that one off the top of my head.
Barclay, and he's pretty famous.
Okay.
But you have to be interested for it to be famous, right? I mean, I'm just saying. But he really helped. His commentaries. You know, y'all know what commentaries are, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just checking in. Some people do, some people don't. I just had them all around the house growing up. You know what I mean?
I probably did when I was a Christian, you know, because I did read a lot of Christian commentaries back then, and I listened to a lot of apologists and stuff. So, and I feel like there was a Barclays concordance that I had too.
Yeah,
He had like a concordance as well, or
yeah.
something
He
like
was
that. So
very
I
prolific.
remember the name. Yes.
Right. He just really helped me a lot because I had my heart and my struggle, my love for people, whether they were in the community or just oppressed or just good, genuine people. And what I kept hearing, other than my dad, just didn't sit well with me, right? Um, so then I started to master studying, right? Unfortunately, I just turned 50, so now I'm mastering trying to remember shit. Um, but honestly, I still got to the same place regardless, right? Or irregardless is the correct word, I think. Well, whatever. The point being is that at the end of the day, I think the only thing that truly matters is kindness and protection of others. And, we're all going to screw up. Be willing to let it go when you do. Try not to repeat it if it's really bad. But just be kind to other people and help and protect other people. That's it. That's all I really got out of all of that shit. And I don't know if y'all know who Kay Arthur is, but I went to that 10-day, it was called boot camp in Chattanooga, Tennessee. 10 days of intensive Bible studies. I did that 3 years in a row from like, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, I'm getting long winded. But I still get to the same point, right? Be kind to others, protect others, love others, share with others. And for God's sakes, chill out and relax for a minute. All right, I'm done.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you
well,
for that.
thanks for coming up. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Everybody, big W in the chat for you. Also, if you are shy and you don't want to come up and ask a question, you can ask it in the chat. I will read it out. If you do it all in caps, it's easier for me to see, and nobody's gonna mute you for asking a question in chat. Okay. Also, if you are over on YouTube, please feel free to ask your questions as well. And we will welcome Jack. Hi,
Definitely.
Jack. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Do you have a
I kind
question
of
for
wonder.
Matt?
I do. I was listening back about you're talking about different responses you have to the moral question.
Sure. Yeah.
And one thing that I've always found compelling about that from a Christian perspective is kind of the justification for the dignity of man. Kind of, if you look historically before Christianity, we didn't necessarily have, I don't really find a good argument or reason why the individual person has value. I don't really see it being a principle understood by people until post-Christianity. What would you say about that? Like
Say that
through
there
the
was-
doctrine of Christianity and like kind of what Christianity teaches about people, that's kind of
Sure.
where we get that principle.
I think that's not quite where we get that principle. I think a lot of people will focus on teachings of Christianity when they think about that principle, but we have had value for the fellow man for hundreds of thousands of years, and this is going to be inherent due to societal structures. We understand that
Well,
to work as a group is to survive, and to try to be alone is to fail. So we inherently will value the community, which includes other people.
yeah, but I guess to be more specific, what value do we have for people who don't bring value? So, for instance, this is how it was told to me. In Roman culture, pre-Christianity, charity was not really a big thing for those that were weak because they didn't contribute anything to the greater cultural value. It wasn't until Christianity comes around and says, it doesn't matter if you don't bring anything to the table, you're still valuable.
Sure. There's going to be a few positions, and some of them will reflect on like Hebrew teachings or Israelite teachings as
Mm-hmm.
well. But again, this is going to come from like collective value of tribal positions, where the protection of the tribe is the goal of everyone within the tribe, and that includes those who may not be like actively helping the tribe, right? The elders or the children, even those who don't have the same like worth as far as like a warrior or something along those lines.
Yeah.
People will still hold value. There's also positions that come from like philosophy. If you look into like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and most of the Stoics are going to hold to some sort of position of value on like individuals. Some would rank people in different ways. and
Right.
those would tend to be fairly misogynistic or pretty horrific when we look at them today. But the idea of placing value on the individual was there. But there's a whole like
Sure.
field in philosophy called value theory that would hold to this. But if I
Yeah.
really had to push, I would push for a genetic purpose. We have the capability for empathy, which is going to be the reason why we're going to empathize with others and put value on others.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you answering my question.
Did you have any other questions, Jack?
No, that was all that came out of my head. I figured I'd pop up and ask. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
no
definitely.
problem. Thank you for coming up. You guys, if you have questions in chat, please feel free to ask them. Come on up, ask them in the chat, ask them over on YouTube. Otherwise, I will continue with my questions because I always make a list because I always have a million. Is there a science fact that just blows your mind when you think about it that you like to share?
Well, there's a couple that are fun. Actually, one that I use in my discussions when I'm talking to people about like religion, especially like religious literalists, the amount of water that it would take in order to flood the planet to the point where the water rose above the highest peak of the tallest mountains is approximately 4.5 times 10 to the ninth cubic kilometers of water. And that's
I would
added.
never
That's
even be able to remember that.
to what we have. The amount of water that is currently on the planet, that's estimated to currently be on the planet, is only 1.5 times 10 to the ninth cubic kilometers of water. So you need to keep what you have and add in 3 times as much in order to flood the planet. So
Wow.
that amount of water just doesn't exist on the planet. That's an interesting little
But
science fact.
Matthew, it was a miracle.
Of course,
Okay, you're not
God opened the
seeing the
sky and he opened the
picture.
grounds and the water sprung forth and fell from the heavens and yeah.
But isn't it true that
Really.
even if it was a miracle and God covered the whole planet with water, we would burn up?
Yeah, it's called
And
the
what
heat
would cause
problem.
that?
All right, so there's a principle in physics, I think it's Boyle's law, if I remember right, and it has to do with when pressure increases in a system, uh, temperature also increases. So the amount of weight of the water that would be over any individual point of land would be causing enough pressure on that land to increase its temperature to a point that it would just fry off all the water and basically be like dropping like massive warheads all over the planet.
Wow.
Would probably
Tahir
sterilize the
asked,
planet.
that's crazy. Tahir asked, what is your favorite part of hosting Decon Lives?
It's the conversations. It's the wide range of discussions and the seeing what people believe and why. The the position of seeing how many different viewpoints there are out there. And sometimes I'll get pieces of information that I'd never heard of before. Dig into and look at and try to understand and make sense of. So there's a bit of a problem solving and a puzzle kind of thing to being able to deconstruct each of the claims being made to see if they make sense and to match it up
Yeah,
with information I might have.
I learned so much every live I either listened to or participate in. Like, even just small things that, like I can read a chapter of the Bible a million times, and yet one day I'll be listening to one of you guys talk, and you'll point something out in that chapter that I never saw before or whatever, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, that blows my mind. Yesterday we were doing non-believers Bible study, and I had Rabbi Hannah on my show,
Yeah.
and we were going over the end of Leviticus, and in the end of Leviticus, it says that if something is set apart for destruction for God, whether it be human or animal or whatever, then you cannot redeem it. And so I was talking to the rabbi, and she was explaining what that meant, that sometimes you could redeem things by and we had read it in earlier in the chapter where you could pay for the item plus like a fifth of it, and you could redeem it and take it back. Okay, but if it was set for destruction, you could not do that because that item was considered holy to God. And I said, so why? What are the humans being set apart for destruction? And I said, are those like the people who've broken a law and they're going to be unalived, like by stoning or whatever? And she goes, yeah, exactly. Because we don't believe in a hell. We would believe that by stoning this person, we're sending them back to God. And then God can deal with them and God can rectify the situation. They've done something so heinous in the community that they can't be rehabilitated, so we're sending them back to God is the thing. And I said, so what you're saying is then in fact, holy means set apart. And she said, yeah, absolutely. Just means set apart. And I said, so somebody can be both evil and holy. And she said, absolutely.
Yeah.
You could be evil and be set apart for destruction. And I was like, because so many times Christians will tell you, you just need to be holy. But holy can mean that you're set apart because you're ready for destruction. So I don't know if you just want to be holy. I don't know if just being holy is good enough. You know?
Yeah,
But I
that's
would,
it's an interesting position, that's for sure.
right. And I learn new things like that every time we talk, and I just find it so interesting. Um, Let me see here. I forgot where I left off. Where do you see these large organized religions going in, like, say, the next 50, 100 years?
Well, in just the next 100 years or so, the larger organized religions, they've put a foothold that's a little too ingrained for them to die out. Some of the religions around the world are just going to become history. They're just going to stop being believed in or worshipped, and they're just going to disappear. But when it comes to like Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, they're going to be here to stay for a very long time, even if it's just culturally. Like people stop believing in the concept of the God, but they hold to the cultural representation for the society that they have. I don't see them going away, but hopefully we will see an increase in critical thinking and secular skills that allow us to keep progressing, even if people still maintain their religious beliefs.
I hope so too. I really do. Um, for me, I would like it to go go the way of Greek mythology, but I don't know if that would happen. But I'd like it to be
Yeah,
something we talk and discuss and sometimes even admire, but not actually worship. You know,
sure, yeah.
um, what's the most underrated philosopher in your opinion?
I could say Diogenes again. That would be that would be a good one. The father of cynicism. That is just alone is hilarious and worth a read. But a lot of
I'm gonna have
people,
to go read about him.
yeah,
I'm so interested in
he
that.
was a definitely a character. Um, Underrated. I'm not sure. I probably just stick with like Diogenes. Yeah, he's not well known, but he had a major impact in a lot of people.
Oh, for sure. Um, when you first started to deconstruct, did you have like a lot of doubts? Started to feel like you were a bad person for questioning, or did you, were you afraid like you might go to hell for questioning? Did you have those fears and thoughts?
Not too much. My deconstruction was pretty mild because I took my time with it for so long that it really wasn't too too big of a thing. I didn't call myself an atheist until I'd already been 7 years into deconstruction. So that didn't really harm me too much. I shifted a lot of my beliefs to other mechanisms. Instead of like fearing in an afterlife, I had like belief in my life. I just changed the importance. Instead of like holding to like prayer to a God, instead just like spoke my mind out to the ether or the world, the air, whatever. Didn't worry if anybody was listening. It just was cathartic to speak.
Yeah.
Having those coping mechanisms helped a lot.
They really do help a lot. I remember when I first decided that I wasn't going to pray anymore, which was a huge deal to me because I was one of those people who was in constant prayer. Like, I would just talk to God in my head constantly all day long. And that's probably because I'm one of those people who have a narrator in my head. I know that some people don't have that, but I have a voice constantly in my head. So I turned it into prayer with God. And I remember when I decided not to pray anymore, and I started to feel a little nihilistic about life in general, feeling like, now do I even have a purpose? What's the purpose of all this? And I used to like thinking that I was maybe going to go to heaven after all of this suffering on this earth, and that some of the people who were just horrible people in my life, they would get their comeuppance and in hell. And
Yeah.
now there's none of that, And I remember always wanting Jesus to come back too. Like, I would be like in the most desperate moments in my life, please, can you like come back today? Can we make this
Yeah,
today, sir?
definitely.
And when I stopped believing, I didn't have that anymore. But one day I sat out in my backyard and I was staring up at the night sky. And where I live, I can literally see the satellites flying across the sky and
Yeah.
stuff. And I thought, I'm just going to talk to the aliens. If there's aliens out there
Yeah.
and they're that smart, maybe they can actually zero in on hearing my voice. Maybe they've got that kind of technology. So, if you're there, I'm ready. Come and get me, and I will go back to
Yeah.
your planet with you. And
I would do things
I
like
don't know,
talking
it
to the
just
moon
helped.
sometimes. It was
Yeah,
nice. Just have something to focus on while you're talking and then just talk. It didn't matter
yeah,
if there was an answer back, because I never had an answer back anyway. But
right?
no, that was something I did. I did that a lot.
Yeah, me
Hmm.
too. And it did help. Now I just talk to you guys and I go to you, hey, what do you think about this? I
Yeah,
had this
definitely.
thought last night. Let's see. Which book influenced your worldview the most after leaving Christianity?
What book influenced my worldview the most? Oh, so the majority of the books I was reading would be like fiction, fantasy fiction, and that kind of stuff. So there are quite a few that I really enjoyed. Uh, the Dark Elf trilogy. That's the books about like Drizzt and that was one that really drew me in. Um, the the Aragon series, that one was amazing. It's by Christopher Polini, uh, young author at the time, and that was a group of books that really meant a lot to me when I was reading them. But just having some sort of like escapism that was like positive was always good to have. Yeah.
There was a I don't know who the let me see. Wait, I'm gonna look something up real quick because I can't think of the author or the books, but my daughter got into them for a long time, and I think you mentioned them, or maybe I've heard somebody else mention, but I can only remember a character from it. Oh, did you ever read David Eddings' books?
David Eddings books?
Yeah.
Maybe I have to look. I'm not sure. Maybe. Let's see.
He has like, I want to say it's a trilogy too. Let's see. Is a central character in the Belgariad, the Malo I cannot Malloreon fantasy series. And there was a character, Belgarath the sorcerer. Anyway, my kids were really into those,
Nice.
because my brother was, and those are really good fantasy books. I really enjoyed those too. Tahir has a question for you. What is your favorite thing to do in your downtime?
Oh, I'm a gamer and I play trading card games, I play video games, I like Legos, a lot of little crafty things that are just fun. A lot of hands-on things. But most of the time I'm doing things with my kids. That's the primary things I'm doing. So a lot of that is where the vast majority of my time gets spent, but I'm
Do
pretty
you
much a
play
nerd.
video games with your kids and do
Yeah, I
Legos
do.
with
I
your
do.
kids?
I do. I'm actually
That's awesome.
I'm actually building a Mario Kart Lego set right now. The kids
Very
are all
cool.
over that. They love it.
My daughter just started working for Lego, and she is a Lego fanatic. So this is a job right up her
Yeah.
alley.
Yeah, definitely.
Tahir has another question. Who are the streamers you watch for fun?
Oh, definitely Daniel. If I catch him in the morning, I definitely will watch that. Um, there's a pair of streamers that focus more on like the LGBTQ kind of topics. One is named Lex, one is named AG.
I love
Great
AG. I
people.
don't
I
know
I
Lex,
talk to
but I
them a
love
lot.
AG.
Yeah, they're great friends with each other, so they're great people. Um, I am on uh like debate side of TikTok quite often on the philosophy debate side. I'll hang out in like AG's live, not AG's, AR's live with people like Just Jim and all of them, and love it when I see like J Mike come around. He's always great to talk to. There's a very large community of people that I hang
There
out with.
is. This community, it has so many branches that I don't think
It
people
really
realize,
does.
and
It
that's
really
one
does.
reason. That's why I like doing this show a little bit, to show people some of the other creators. So, like, if you like this creator, you're probably gonna like this creator too, and they're, you know, just on different branches of this community. So check them both
Yeah.
out. Um, uh, let me see. Lower Infinity says, "Do you play D&D or any TTRPG, or just enjoy the Drist books?"
I do like D&D quite a lot. I don't get a chance to play it near as often as I'd like because it can be pretty time consuming. The tabletop games can be very time consuming, but I definitely enjoy the concept. Actually, a few months ago, I found out that like one of the things you can do with like ChatGPT and these open model AIs, you can tell them to run a game for you, and they'll DM a game for you, and you can just play with you and like your buddy or just you by yourself with the AI, and it'll ask you like, what kind of game would you like? What do you want it to be long? Do you want it to be short? Do you want it to be weird? Do you want it to be classic fantasy? You just tell it what you like, and it'll make up a story and run it. It's actually really good. So if you like
That's
that
really
kind of stuff,
cool.
you can take 5-10 minutes and run a little mini campaign on a just talking to the AI and Chat GPT.
That's really cool. I did not know that. That's a really cool thing to know. I would love for a whole. Okay, I've only played a very little D&D, but I want to play more.
Hmm.
Like you said, it's just time consuming, but it would be really fun to do a big community game of D&D one night or something. Get 5 or 6 people together, put them in a voice channel or something on Discord, and let everybody come in and hang out. I think it would be so fun. Yeah, we
just on a
should
little
start
mini one
again.
shot. Yep.
Yeah, just a little mini one
Oh.
shot or something. That would be great. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat or come on up. The guest box is open. Let's see. If you could change one major event in church history, what would it be?
In church history. Oh, the adoption of Christianity as the primary religion of Rome. If you just
Yeah,
remove that from history, you no longer have any of the Christian colonization of the world. It just vanishes.
that's true.
I think that would be a very much a net positive for the planet. If I had to break it down to just one event, that would be the one.
That that and or Marcion appearing with the Gospels and, and all the stuff from Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, if Marcion just doesn't provide anything, that would be good too. I'm just saying it. I mean, I don't know. Tahir has another question. What is the meal that you cook that the kids always ask for?
Oh, the one that they always ask for? That's probably my spaghetti. The kids will always
Mm,
ask for my spaghetti. That's a good one. Just real nice, rich, highly seasoned, lots of herbs, tons of vegetables, lots of beef, real good spaghetti. And but usually when I'm cooking for like people asking me for stuff, it's probably usually my bread pudding. That's the one most people ask me for, but kids like the spaghetti.
I love bread pudding. I love really good bread pudding though. It has to be good bread pudding.
Yeah,
I love it so
I built
much.
my recipe really well. I love my recipe.
I'm gonna need to
Hmm.
get that from you. I love bread pudding so much that every time we go to Las Vegas, which is not very far from me, so that's something we do like maybe once or twice a year or so, and we'll meet people there. I make whoever goes to Las Vegas go to the Golden Nugget. The Golden Nugget is a little casino on
Yeah,
what's that street? You know that
it's
street.
just off the
Um,
strip.
yeah, it's on that street where all the wild people are. What's that street called? Anyway, and in the Golden Nuggets buffet, is it the best buffet in town? No. Is it good? Yeah, it's good. It's
Yep.
like Fremont Street. Yeah, it's Fremont Street.
Fremont Street, yeah.
Um, but they have the best bread pudding, and the recipe is online. It's
Oh,
so
nice.
freaking good. It's my favorite. Yeah, bread pudding. I'm gonna need to get that from you for sure. I love it so
I
much.
do Louisiana bread pudding, oh New Orleans style bread pudding, with a bourbon butter sauce,
See,
and
theirs
it
has a
is so
bourbon butter
good.
sauce. That's what theirs has. That I
Hmm.
love it so much. Mama Bash was on my show not very long ago, and they have a restaurant. She has a restaurant, and she has a white chocolate macadamia nut bread pudding. And now I want to
Would be
eat
good,
that too.
yeah.
Like
That
that
would be
sounds
good.
crazy. Um, was there any doctrine or particular thing that as a Christian, like you used to defend or hold really hard to that now you're like, what was I thinking? What was that?
I didn't have to hold too much to doctrine for the way I was practicing. The majority of the communities I were in were Christian, but they weren't like evangelical. They weren't really like highly structured, or they weren't proselytizing or like apologists or anything. So it wasn't really too bad. It's pretty lax, to tell you the honest truth. Like I said, Episcopal is pretty much Catholic light. Um, I do have to say the concept of like prosperity gospel disgusts me now, but I think it would have
Yeah.
disgusted me back in the day as well.
Prosperity gospel, I think it always bothered me, even as a Christian. I can't say always like that. That's not
Sure.
quite what I'm looking for. Like, I don't think that I really understood sometimes that that is what they were preaching. Like, I tell people I feel like one of the largest pieces of cognitive dissonance I had was the fact that you are taught that you are nothing but dirty rags, but
Yeah.
also you are royalty and you are heir to a throne. And having that weird dichotomy in my brain, like, couldn't always mesh. So I would hear like Joel Osteen say, pray that God has favor over you, and suddenly you always get the best parking spots or something like that. I didn't
Yeah.
really get it that was just a micro cosm of him preaching the prosperity gospel, and stuff, because I thought, but does that really happen? Like, if I just pray for God to find favor in me, I don't always get the best parking spot. And I certainly don't always get my bills just paid. And I don't get the promotion. And I don't get the raise. And what is he talking about? But I wanted to believe it too, that I am this, princess in God's eyes. I am an equal heir to his throne with Jesus Christ. So certainly he finds favor in me, right? And at the same time, I don't know why I didn't realize how ridiculous that all sounded. Like, I did, like, because I couldn't come to terms with it fully. Obviously I was arguing in my own head about it. Which part of your... Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna add on another one that really gets me is the purity culture side of things, which falls under the same aspect of not being worth anything, but still having to like hold yourself to this higher standard and all this other stuff. The removal of the importance of self, but still saying that you are the most important thing is just weird dichotomy.
It is. I the purity culture thing had me messed up too, especially as a woman. Okay, and as a woman who was not pure. Okay, so it really, when I had two daughters and they were of this age, and I was in the Midwest, and people were doing these things where they were buying their daughters purity rings and having the literal, I don't know if you guys have seen them, but they're almost like weddings, okay, for their daughters to to vow their purity to their fathers, okay?
Until it's
This
given
is a
to somebody
thing.
else.
Until it's given to somebody else with the father's permission. I could not go full blown with that. Okay, there, like I said, I feel like I was deconstructing all along, so I could not go full blown with that. But I'm not gonna lie, I bought my daughters each a diamond ring, and gave them the diamond ring. But I couldn't do the whole purity culture conversation. So what I actually said to my daughters was, "This is just a ring for you to wear to, like, honor your body and honor yourself, and know that you, like, should make those choices. That should be about you. Like, I just want, if you do become sexually active, that you protect yourself, and I don't want you to feel shame." And so I'm having the total opposite conversation as I'm giving them these stupid freaking rings, because I was like, I need to be realistic with this. Young teenagers do things with other teenagers, and it's going to happen, and I need to be realistic about it. And what is the most important thing to me? that they're safe. That is always my most important thing. So I wanted to make sure that they knew how to safe, how to stay safe, and how to respect and honor their own bodies. And so I failed the Christian purity culture mama test.
I'm glad you did.
And I
It
will
sounds like a
say
much
this.
more responsible way to do things.
I have 3 children, and none of them had any unplanned pregnancies. And they're all in very committed relationships. And a lot of the people in that church cannot say the same thing about their kids. So I don't know, maybe I did do it right.
All right,
Again,
so I just for your awareness and anybody else who's curious, in your channel on the Deconstruction Live, Deconstruction Zone Discord,
mhm.
your live channel, the bread pudding recipe is there, right?
Yay! Oh my God, I'm so excited. That's awesome. I am gonna make that. Especially because fall is right around the corner. Oh my
Hmm.
God, bread pudding with a cup of coffee or tea. Such a great thing to have during the fall.
Now the recipe calls for raisins, but that's optional. I don't
You
make it
got to
with
put the
raisins.
raisins in. I will make it with raisins only because I love it with the
It's
bourbon
classic.
butter.
It's
Oh,
classic. Yeah.
so
Uh,
good. So
you
good.
can replace the raisins for like almond slivers, and that's really good too.
Ooh, I might have to try that. That sounds good
Hmm.
too. You guys, if you have any questions, don't forget you can come on up. The box is open. If you have questions over on YouTube, you can ask them in the chat. I'll read them out. Um, did you experience a single breaking point for you, or was it a gradual breaking point into atheism?
Oh, it was absolutely gradual. I say that it took me 7 years to deconstruct my religion because after 7 years, I could finally call myself an atheist. I didn't call myself an atheist until after that, but I continued deconstructing even past that to this day. I'm still deconstructing belief
Yeah,
systems,
me too.
but
Me too.
it took 7 years to get to that point, so it was very gradual.
I think it's funny how many of us, and this is something so many ex-Christians I've talked to say that taking the name atheist was like one of the last things, in the line. Like they
Yeah,
might have stopped
actually admitting it.
believing in the God. Yeah,
Hmm.
actually,
Yep.
because atheists are so villainized by the church and in the indoctrination. It is just, and you hear it when they come up and tell you that you have no morals, that you have no purpose, that like they're basically telling you you are nothing. And so admitting that last thing, like it's very common. It's very common for that to be the final thing where you go,
Yeah,
I guess I'm
definitely.
atheist. I guess I'm not
It's
just an
rough.
ex-Christian. I'm atheist. Yeah. I'm over 40, but I'll be your grandchild. I lost my last grandparent last year. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I love my grandbabies, so you can be my grandchild. Most people who are in their 40s consider me more like a mom, but if you need me to be your grandma, I could do that too. Jaron said his daughter heard me say the F word and she decided I was the coolest grandma ever. So I am the coolest grandma ever, okay?
Yeah. It's always fun when my little ones decide to speak out with an expletive.
It is
I don't
fun.
I don't push back against like the quote unquote bad language. I don't tell kids there are naughty words and nice words. I say that it's why you're using a word is what matters. But we have to understand that not everybody appreciates every type of word, so we still need to be careful what we say. But in my house, I don't hold there to being such a thing as a bad word. So
I like that. I did not have that mentality when my kids were little. So I didn't cuss around my kids when they were little. We always joke because I have 3 kids, and
yeah,
they'll say like the first two kids I never cussed, but when the third one was born, that's when all the cuss words came out. But that's not necessarily true. It was actually when they were older, and then I don't know. I started realizing I started realizing what you're saying, that it's about why you're saying a word, and that it's just a word. And yes,
Yeah,
there are places that you shouldn't say all kinds of words. There are times where, like at a funeral, you don't want to be cracking a joke, right? Unless it's the appropriate
exactly,
type of funeral
exactly.
or whatever. So there's
Yeah,
a right
right
and wrong
time,
place
right
to,
place.
yeah. And you just need to teach your kids there's a right time, right place for everything.
Yeah,
You know, you were talking about compartmentalizing earlier, and that's another thing that I have found that a lot of my friends that I've met in this community are really, at least the people I admire, they're really good at. And I have always been a person who did that. For me, it was, I started doing it because of trauma, you know, so I learned very quickly due to trauma how to
yeah,
compartmentalize. And,
yeah,
um, but as I was growing up, like when I would do therapy when I was younger and stuff, they made that seem like it was a bad thing. And so I would try to like not do that. And it was very hard because I do it naturally. Like it's a defense mechanism for me in some aspects. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, is there a reason
yeah,
we shouldn't be doing that? Like, I do it, like I said, almost naturally, and I like it. I feel
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
comfortable having everything compartmentalized.
No, it's a very natural thing, and it can be healthy, but it can also be harmful. It depends on how you're doing it. So I try to make a distinction earlier between like bottling up versus compartmentalizing. So bottling up is shoving everything down into a bottle, closing the lid, and getting rid of it, and never seeing it again. Compartmentalizing is being very deliberate about setting things aside where they're still there, they're not being ignored, they're labeled, they're ready to be worked through, they're ready to be discussed, but they're not on the table right now. They're not the focus at the moment. And that is perfectly healthy to not have a focus on too many things at once because it allows you to really narrow down your focus on what is important at that moment. But as long as you're not ignoring everything else around you, you're going to be able to do well with this. The only problem is when you start ignoring the boxes and just piling more boxes up.
Yeah,
That's going to be like bottling up, and that's when things tend to build to a point where they bury you, and that's a problem. So as long as you're not doing that, you're usually doing pretty good. It's a good system for staying focused, staying on task, keeping plans enacted in a like a real good way to allow you to continue moving forward.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel like it brings me a sense of peace too because I don't. It's almost like mentally organizing things to me, you know, and
Yeah.
having that mental organization keeps my anxiety levels down. I just feel more peaceful. And I think it goes right in line with having boundaries and setting boundaries. And that's really important to me. It took me a long time to learn how to use boundaries appropriately and understand that a boundary is more about how I enforce it, not how somebody else takes it, you know, and stuff. But I think that the boundaries and compartmentalizing really helped me mentally. And so I don't know why I had therapists early on, but they really made me feel bad about it, like I was doing something that was unhealthy. And I always feel better when I do that. Miss Matthew, thank you for gifting. My wife said I am broke. Oh, don't worry. If you're broke, we
No,
don't
it's
want you
fine.
to. Yeah, don't worry about it.
I'm here for the conversation and for the people,
Me too.
and that
Me
that's what
too.
I'm here for. Anything else is just like icing on the cake. But like the compartmental side, I mean, seriously, I'm working on like Lego stuff, I will go through individual like bags of Lego stuff, and I will take out the colors that I need and the pieces that I need and put them in the individual boxes so I can see everything. Now work on
Yeah.
one thing at a time. And it's the exact same thing I do with my planning, my goals, my discussions, anything like that. Same thing. Take everything apart,
I like that.
organize it, set it up, make sure I still keep all of it in frame, in check, where it's visible, and tack on all the problems I need to, and just hit it head on.
Absolutely. Hey, Joel reads Bible. I don't know if you're still in here or you're just popping in and out. I don't know what you're doing, sir. But if you want to come up and talk to Matthew, the guest box is open, sir.
Always good to see you, Joel. We appreciate you.
What religious teaching do you find most ethically troubling today?
A religious teaching today ethically troubles. Like we already touched on a couple. I could touch on like purity culture again, could touch on prosperity culture again, or prosperity gospel again. But if we're gonna talk into just like teachings that are given today, um, I think the teachings that you should be obedient for the sake of being obedient is a very dangerous teaching. We see it a lot in these discussions we have when we're having discussions about things like morality, about things like the biblical stories that we don't agree with, about the concept of how we talk about the history of the religion and everything. We'll ask like questions that are just meant to like illustrate the absurdity of obedience. We'll ask like, well, what if God asked you to do this? And the number of people that will say, yes, I do it because God told me to, without even trying to think about what the action actually is, it astounds me. And I feel like this is a more of a modern teaching. I feel like this wasn't as much when I was younger or something, but it seems to be extremely prevalent these days. And I find that to be a like a real dangerous mindset. The I
I
was
do
just
too.
following orders excuse. It didn't work in Germany in the 40s. It's not going to work for me here.
Mm-mm. I agree 100%. As a matter of fact, that was really important with me with my children. That's why I say I really think I was deconstructed. Probably since had kids, even though having kids made me, get more into the church because I thought that was the right thing to do.
And it was good for the
I
kids, and
still was deconstructing it while I was raising them because I told them like we don't in this house we don't do blind obedience, and that includes mom and dad. If you have a question about why we're telling you to do something or whatever, like I want you to question me. I want you to talk with me. I want you to ask. I don't want you to do something just like but I said there are times I'm gonna need you to, like if I tell you get out of the street, like do it immediately.
yes,
Okay,
safety.
but
That's I do
right,
that with my kids
but
too. Yeah.
yeah, because I'm just trying to save your life. That's all I'm doing there. But like obviously, if there were things that my mom would do when I was younger that I just hated, like. I remember asking her if I could stay the night at my friend's house, and she would just be like, "No, and
Yeah.
never like okay but why like is there a good reason why are you just saying no just to say no and I wanted my kids to know why like I want to answer their whys and stuff. Well, I don't want you to sleep over there because she's a single mom with boyfriends and they come in and out of the house all the time, and I don't want you around that because we don't know those men, and since we
Yeah.
don't know the men, we're not going to the house,
And,
or whatever. But
and
they
that
can
can be a
stay the
hard
night here.
thing. That can be a hard thing to explain to a kid too. I
Yeah.
say very similar things to my kids. Like I say it to my daughter and my son, and I say, well, sometimes I just need you to hear me when I say yes or no and understand that it is important for possibly a safety reason. So take my answer at first. But if you need to
Mm-hmm.
know why, ask me.
Yeah.
But hear me first So we're not fighting, and then ask me. And I will do my best to tell you if it's something that I can explain. Not everything I'm going to be able to explain right away, but I'll do my best to help you understand. And as you grow, you'll learn more and you'll understand more, and I'll be able to explain better. But sometimes it's just strictly this is a safety issue, and I need you to listen because I know how
Yeah.
dangerous this can be. But then again, it's also sometimes really hard when you got multiple kids running around screaming at the tops of their lungs to be able to give a calm discussion about why you can't do something. But that's just the give and take of being a parent sometimes.
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. Um, how did your community react when you left Christianity? Your friends, your family, was it a big deal or?
So for me, it was basically unnoticed because I was a military brat growing up. We moved every 2 to 3 years. So our church communities weren't super ingrained. We still had active church communities. We still felt accepted in the communities and everything. But as like members of a military family, usually on military bases, it was very normal for people to come and go. And it wasn't something that was really felt as a loss. So me having that growing up and then me being in the military when I was deconstructing was the same thing. Moving in and out of these communities was little to nothing. I was going on deployments, changing my current command, or anything along those lines. I was always moving around, so not being there wasn't like anything strange for anybody else. So I was pretty much just completely unseen. And for me, it was something that was easy because I didn't have to worry about anybody telling me how wrong I was for having questions. So that it just made
Yeah,
my deconstruction that much easier. Sometimes the disjunct of your community because of military service is beneficial and sometimes it's harmful. I've had both sides throughout my
yeah,
life, so
I
yeah.
can see that. You guys, I'm going to be asking Matthew a few more questions, and then we're going to play everybody's favorite game, Divine or Decline. If you are a subscriber, drop the Divine or Decline stickers in the comments so everybody can see. Drop some of the other stickers too. I've got really fun stickers in there. Um, and if you want to play, the guest box is open, and I better see some of you come up here because we can't leave Matthew hanging and playing the game all by himself. Nobody wins anything, nobody loses anything. It's just for fun. So put your request in the box and come on up and play the game with us, okay? Um,
Those are some good stickers. I like those. Those are good looking. They're
were
sharp.
there any moments where you felt guilt for doubting? Actual like guilt of it?
Yeah, especially early in my deconstruction. So I mentioned earlier it was that my deconstruction started by reading the Bible, specifically a family heirloom Bible. This Bible is about 117 years old now, I think, somewhere around that age. And it was carried by three generations of my family, all served in the military and all carried that Bible with them during armed conflict. So my grandfather carried it in World War One and World War Two. My father
Wow.
carried it in Vietnam as well as in Desert Storm and Desert Shield. I carried it myself in OIF and OEF through Afghanistan, Kuwait, and Iraq. And uh, it has handwritten notes from my father and my grandfather within this Bible. Like that, the fly leaves on either side are covered with little notes. Different verses are jotted down as favored verses and stuff like that. So there's a lot of information from
That's
my
cool.
family in there that makes me feel closer to them. So as I'm reading this Bible and I am deconstructing the things I'm reading, I'll go over a page and I'll see a highlighted verse all of a sudden. And I'll notice that this is something that my dad highlighted because he found it to be important. It was something that was influential to his faith. And I'm sitting here going, I am questioning my faith while reading the words that are important to my father's faith in the same book that he carried. Not just that it's the Bible,
That's
but
wild.
literally the same book that
Yeah.
he carried with him while he was in Vietnam. And a little bit of
That's
guilt will
wild.
pop up on that. Why am I questioning this when my father's faith is still strong to this day? Why am I questioning these things when I have my grandfather's words? I was never able to meet him because he died before I was born, like far before I was born. But I was able to fully have a little bit of insight into who he was through the words written on these pages. But I am doubting what he wholeheartedly believed in. It's made me think: do I deserve to be carrying this Bible? Do I deserve to even be reading this Bible at this point in time? Because there's a lot of emotion behind that connection.
Yeah. I was given my mom and dad's Bibles. They're not near as old. My sister kept the family Bible, and we have a very
I'll take
old
you guys
family
for a
Bible
walk.
too.
I want to take you guys for a
But
walk and go get that Bible.
okay, that would be cool. Uh, so I didn't get that Bible, but she gave me my mom and dad's Bibles, and I've used them during the non-believers Bible study before, and I'll read
Mm.
sometimes. My mom's notations are funny. Okay, like when we got to who's the little short guy that has to get up in the tree? I never can remember his name.
Crystal, may I? Because I just
Yeah.
wanted to come up and tell that story that I always think about Zacchaeus and you saying
Yeah.
your mom wrote in the margins Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
I have thought about
Yeah.
that like
Oh
100
no!
times.
Oh no! Zacchaeus
She
and Danny DeVito.
Isn't that funny?
Oh
That's what the kind of
no!
notes my mom would write in her Bible, and I just think they're funny. But yeah, so I like to use their Bibles when I'm doing Bible study. I read from the NRSVU or just the NRSV, but I have their little Bibles next to me, and sometimes read their notes, which are funny. That's just so funny, Danny DeVito.
All right,
Just
here we go.
That
Let me
was
let me
really
see if
funny.
I can set this up real quick here. All right. So this is a Marine Corps Field
oh,
Bible. This is
let me make
the
it
Marine
big
Corps
for
New Testament.
everybody.
For like size comparison, it's small, right? It's the size of my
Yeah.
hand. This is a standard Marine Corps Field Bible. This was standard issue for Marines when they joined, and it's very dog-eared and very fragile. As you can see, it's fairly beat up, but that's what happens when you carry it through like a dozen wars. But here in the middle, you have CrystalJae, my grandfather, 20th Company Base, Walters, 6th Regiment, USMC, Armored Expeditionary Forces. And this is my father's writing it down here to Matthew. Read the fly leaf in the back. So that's my father telling me to read my grandfather's words. This is my grandfather's words dating the Bible. This is when he first read this Bible, was August 20th, France, 1917. So that's when he was in
Wow.
World War One. And then this Bible is the Bible that started my deconstruction. Book of Matthew right here and
Wow.
everything. You
That's
have
really
the
What's the
cool.
size of one of those little ones? Like, is that just New Testament or does it have Old Testament too?
this is just New Testament,
Yeah,
but
like
this is
they
the
used to
fly leaf in
hand
the
those
back.
out a lot, like in the
Mhm.
70s and 80s. Like people would just hand you
Mhm.
those when you were at places.
Yeah, this was written. This flyleaf expert was written at 1 a.m. March 31st, 1918. It's Eastern morning, and he says we have just taken over the Verdun or over the sector on the Verdun front, which we are to hold. Am just about to go to sleep in my dugout. God help us to finish the work properly, which we have begun. So he's literally in a foxhole writing this on Easter morning
Wow.
while still marking down some of his favorite verses is Mark 11:24 and John, like I said earlier, John 14:13 and 14.
So, you know, sticking with this same lines, what do you think about when people tell you that there's no atheists in foxholes?
I tell them about my story. Tell them about my stories as an atheist in foxholes. I was there. I was an atheist. I was in a foxhole. I've been on convoys with small arms fire. I've been in the desert under IDF. And I tell them at that moment in time, the concept of a God doesn't even pop into my head. The only thing in my mind at that moment is, are the people around me okay? And am I doing the job I'm supposed to be doing to ensure they stay that way? That's it.
That is it. I've never been in a foxhole, but I've certainly thought that something was going to happen to me that was going to end my life. And
Yeah.
the first time it happened after being a Christian, I remember the thought coming to my mind, well, what do you do now, Crystal? You got nobody to pray to. And I was like, all right, well, you don't do praying. You don't do that. That's
It's not going to do
what
much.
can
That's
I
not our
do?
thing anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's not going to help. It never helped when I did do it. So why,
Exactly.
do it now? So yeah, I always think it's funny because they think that you never face that possibility as an atheist. I had cancer. Of course, I faced that possibility. And that to me is a foxhole. And I did not pray for healing. I went to doctors, amazingly
Yeah,
enough.
exactly. It's the same
All right.
concept.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys, it is time for everybody's favorite game. I would love for a couple more of you to come up here. So, because you're not doing it, I'm inviting you up here. I'm inviting a few of you to come and join us up on the live to play everybody's favorite game, Divine or Decline.
I would
Crystal, I
appreciate.
had a question.
Oh, you can. Yes.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll wait.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. We talked at the same time. Thank you. Hi, Matthew. I
Hi.
joined kind of late, so I hope I'm not asking you a question that somebody's already asked you. I'm starting to take notes on this because it's a place where I found like divisiveness in the atheist community, and I'm just really trying to decide what I think. So, do you
Sure.
think Jesus really existed or not?
I hold a couple of positions.
Okay.
The position that I hold to with the most like epistemic certainty would be that a man named Yeshua existed in the first century at that point in time, who was a Jewish teacher who wandered around, taught a bunch of things, maybe did a bunch of good things for some people, caused trouble at a temple, and was executed by the Roman government. I think that's a very valid position that would give justification for why these stories came out the way they did. I just think they were highly, highly exaggerated to the point of supernatural when it was just a guy who did good things.
Right.
But the other side of the coin here is you have the mythicist position where the stories are fictional and none of it actually happened. But if I was to say what is more likely than that is that you had many like Jewish teachers around the first century at that time. It was a very common thing. And if you had multiple people who were doing good deeds, right? You can take the stories of the good deeds and the lessons taught by these people and compile them into a singular story. And rather than having 6, 7, 8 different people that you're talking about, just talk about them as if they are one person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same style of narrative trope we use for things like Forrest Gump or anything along those lines. But in this case, it would be Jesus Gump, and it's silly, I know, and it makes people laugh. but it's very easy to kind of see this narrative and narrative trope when you look at the lessons taught by Jesus, the actions taken by Jesus, and the emotions that he portrayed or the ways he spoke. It was constantly different. It wasn't a single style of how he acted. Sometimes he was aloof. Sometimes he
Right.
was mean. Sometimes
Don't
he was aggressive.
don't you
Sometimes he
think
was
that was
kind.
don't you think that was a byproduct of the Council of Nicaea, though? The implementation of strategic goals versus what was actually put out at first.
I don't think that was so much the Council of Nicaea. Nicaea was pretty much just trying to determine whether or not the Christ figure was actually divine or not. They were arguing over the divinity. There was other councils on like what should be canonized and stuff like that. But
Right.
just based in the some of the older manuscripts we have, we just look at the like the contents of the story and don't worry too much about the narrative behind it. We'll
Right.
just see that it looks like actions would be taken by different people, but that could just be he was acting differently in different places, and it's perfectly fine. But it leads me to at least a little bit of a belief that these are stories about multiple different people, and they're just attested to as Jesus.
I
Right.
think that's an excellent point that you make about, and it's actually the first time I've heard somebody mention how he has different emotional reactions that don't seem to be like steady with one person's personality. And I love that. I'm writing that down.
They're not
Yeah.
concentric. Yep.
I find it, I'm not real new, about 2 years into deconstruction, 2 or 3 years in, but
Sure.
but I find it weird that atheists is the one place on here, Facebook, Reddit. Like I will really see
Mhm.
atheists go at each other when it comes to whether or not Christ was really a person or not. And I'm indifferent. Like I don't care, but I kind of just want to form my own opinion. So that's why I'm asking people. So I
Sure.
appreciate
Yeah.
your input.
Usually, when it comes to that, like it doesn't really matter to me if he existed or not.
Yeah.
I do not believe he existed as a divine entity, as a god. And just with that alone, I have no reason to hold to the narrative of miracle and self resurrection.
Right. Same thing here. I'm agnostic at best, right? But I love the story of Christ, not the added in shit. And I only use Council of Nicaea as a reference point. I know there was before and after, right? But honestly, I think the idea was be kind to each other.
You guys, I want to address somebody in chat real quick. I have a fan. Islam is their name. Okay. Islam. I see you in so many chats. You and I have talked many times, and I'm gonna tell you something. What you do by proselytizing in spaces where people are asking you not to do that is you push us further and further and further away from any message you're trying to share with us. One thing I have learned from you is that your God, Allah, is so weak and tiny, you're scared to come up and talk to him, talk about him to anybody. You will only say things in chat to try to rile people up. And if that is all your God can do, your God is weak and puny and has no power here. You're not doing anything, you're not helping anyone. And if you do not stop, I will block you because you're upsetting people because you're not listening to the boundary that they've asked you. Okay? They've asked you to stop preaching to them. Please stop.
And the Quran and the New Testament also teach the same thing. You're to throw dust on your person's chin if they don't want to receive your message and move forward. And you're breaking laws on so many religious levels.
Okay, you guys, it is time to play Divine or Decline. Drop those D's into the chat. This is how we play the game. Hey, Ashra, by the way. Hi. Didn't say hi to you yet. Hi.
Hi.
Here's how we play the game. I'm going to read a phrase. If it is from the Bible, It's divine. You're going to say divine, okay? Now, the Bible that I use is the New American Standard Bible because it is copyright free. Everything I use in this game is copyright free. So it might not sound exactly how you're used to hearing the verse, but divine is if it's from the Bible. It's decline if it's from the Quran, the Book of Mormon, or if I made it up, okay? Everybody understand? There's no points, there's no winners, there's only losers in this game.
Just don't get mad when I win, y'all.
Okay, ready? Here we go. And I'm going to start from the top. I'll come down and ask each one of you to respond, okay? Here we go. For you are a holy people to the Lord your God, and the Lord has chosen you to be a people for his personal possession out of all the peoples who are on the face of the earth. Asher.
Divine.
You know.
What was the question? I'm sorry, I was interrupted by this person named Islam, and
Okay, don't, if you're going to talk in chat, I'm going to drop you down in chat. I want you to pay attention, okay?
I will look away. I apologize.
Okay.
All right, what question?
For
Easy
you
is
are
just to
holy.
ignore 'em.
For you are a holy people to the Lord your God, and the Lord has chosen you to be a people for his personal possession out of all the peoples who are on the face of the earth.
That's Old Testament. What am I supposed to
The
answer?
question is divine or decline. If it's from the Bible, it's divine. If it's not from the Bible, it's decline.
All right, it is from the Bible.
So you're going to say divine.
You put me in a corner here. Nobody puts baby in a corner.
No, that's the game.
Just because it's in the
you
Bible
know,
doesn't.
Yeah, it's a game. It's a game. It's to see if you can pick out where it comes from.
All right, fine. I will lose.
Wait, do you understand the game?
Absolutely not, but I'll figure it out as we go along.
Let me tell you it again real quick so you understand. Are you listening? Don't pay attention to chat right now. Listen.
I'm not. They're laughing at me, but I'm not paying attention.
Okay, I'm reading you a phrase. If you think that phrase is actually from the Bible, you're going to say divine.
All right,
if
divine.
that phrase is not from the Bible, you're going to say decline, okay?
I feel like it was divine, but you put me in a corner here.
But
Yeah,
that's
I'm gonna
the game.
Sorry, I'm gonna
Go
say
ahead.
decline.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I didn't
decline. Okay.
I didn't like the whole face of the earth. That doesn't sound biblical to me.
Okay, Matthew?
I think that's Romans, if I remember right, so I'm going to say divine.
That is divine, but that is Deuteronomy 14:2.
There was a lot going on.
All right. Here we go. Number 2. And he lifted up his voice, saying, Behold, the heaven declared the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Asherah.
That's a tough one. I'm gonna say divine, but I'm not confident about that.
Okay. You know, it's your turn.
I didn't vote this time. I know. I honestly don't know. I know what it's hinting at, but it's trying to play me. So I'm
just gotta guess.
Not divine.
Decline. Okay, Aaron.
I'm gonna say divine on that one.
Okay, Matthew.
I'm pretty sure that one's divine.
Jesus.
That one is decline. That is from the Book of Mormon.
Oh, Book of Mormon. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one was from the Book of
I am
Mormon.
always the loser.
Y'all need to read your Bible, people. You just need to get out there and read your Bible, okay?
The problem is I read a lot of Bibles. I read all of the Bibles, including the Book of Mormon.
Well, I also make this... I make the game very hard on purpose. It's a hard game because, let's face it, the Bible, the Book of Mormon, and the Quran are all bullshit and they all sound alike. So that's the fun of the game. All right, number 3.
Makes verses up. Don't you make verses up from the Book of Crystal?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Y'all need to watch South Park. the most current episode of South Park will explain everything.
Okay, number 3. Are we ready? Okay, and those who disbelieve say this Quran is nothing but a lie. Oh, well, I left the word in there.
Decline.
I think we're gonna say decline on this one. But I already knew that one before you got to it, though. If that makes it any better.
Normally,
I might get this one right.
Normally I mask the word and I totally forgot. Okay, well, let me finish reading it. And those who disbelieve say this word is nothing but a lie which he invented, and another people helped him at it. And you guys know that is decline. Okay. I need to read it ahead of time to make sure if I have a word to mask, okay? All right, here we go. Number 4. The moon shall give its light by day, and the sun shall stand still in the night, and the works of men be judged without delay. Asherah.
Decline.
Islam, you're now blocked, and I'm a moderator for most of the creators, and any chance I get, I'm going to block you from now on. You did not respect. I talked to you very kindly, and you decided to be disrespectful, and the fact that I'm going to do this and be able to do it on many of the creators you watch shows you, again, how impotent your God is.
Damn.
Woohoo! Good girl, go.
Okay.
Oh,
All right, I don't know whose turn it was.
What was that movie in the 50s or whatever where they were on like a plantation or whatever and Gone with the Wind, right? That was that. Remember that slap and Gone with the Wind? That's what that felt like. I love it.
I was trying to have a conversation to let them know you could stick around, but just stop doing that to everybody. But they cannot stop. They will not stop. So whose turn was it on that?
Not mine. Not mine.
Okay, decline.
Yeah.
It's probably
Okay,
Oh, I'm sorry. Was
decline.
it me? Decline.
No, that's fine. Matthew?
Divine.
All right. Well, that was made up by Crystal. So that is decline.
Well, it sounds like Book of Joshua.
You did a good job, Crystal, or whoever you are. I don't know who you are. But...
No, it sounds very much like
Crystal.
sounds very much like Book of Joshua.
Well, I do draw my inspiration from the Bible, just like all the other cults who stole.
Oh yeah, no, it's good. No, it's good. It tricked me.
All right, here we go. Number 5. But the Spirit explicitly says that in latter times, some will fall away from the faith, paying attention to deceitful spirits, the teachings of demons. Asherah.
I'm going to say decline.
All right, you know?
Probably in Revelations.
Divine?
Oh, I hate it when we say that term. Yes, it's in Revelations.
It's the game.
So-called divinical.
Aaron.
Decline.
Matthew.
Decline.
I'm gonna say decline. Revelation does talk about a great falling away, but I don't think it speaks about it in that terminology. Decline, yeah.
That was divine, but it was not Revelation. That was 1 Timothy 4:1.
But I was still right. That's the point. That's the point.
Yes,
y'all.
you were.
Yes, you were.
Yeah,
You get the point.
exactly. It was divine.
Timothy, the biggest thing I got out of Timothy is show yourself by studying to be approved. Learn before you talk, right? And for me, it's intuitive because if it's not about caring for someone else, you're fucking up. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to orate.
That's okay. All right, number 6. And behold, the voice of the Lord came as a whisper, yet it shook the earth, and the mountains bowed before it. Asherah.
Divine.
You know.
Which book? I know it's divine, but which book? You got me in a.
You don't have to pick the book. You don't have to pick the book.
Corner here, though. I need to know and answer right. So let me think. Which book? Say it one more time.
You don't need to pick the book. You just need to say divine or decline. We'll tell you at the end if it's from
It was
what book.
Divine Oil.
Okay, Aaron.
I have no idea. I'll say divine.
Okay, Matthew.
I'm saying divine.
Well, that was decline. That was made up.
See, y'all should never trust
so
a
close.
settler who's
so
retired and just sits in a garage.
I think I would be
you do
better
make up
off
verses
if
that
I
are very
just
close.
said decline the entire time I'm up here, and then at least I'll get 50% of them right.
Maybe.
I think it's implied in some scripture, which is why I said what I said. But actual words.
Yeah, there are verses that are similar to it.
Yeah.
Well, yes, that is what I do. I do similar, but not the Bible.
You're so dirty.
We do not create the heavens and the earth and everything between them except in truth and for a specified term. Asherah.
Decline.
You know.
Decline. It sounds like a presidential election.
Decline.
Aaron.
Decline. That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, that's decline.
That is decline. That is the Quran 46:3.
Thank God, because I was about to become an atheist.
Number 8. And the Lord said unto him, because thou hast done this, cursed art thou above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Asherah.
I'm gonna say decline.
Okay, you know.
I think it's talking about Cain and Abel, so I'm going with the real on the textual stuff.
I'm gonna say
divine.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't know the right words sometimes.
And Aaron, you're saying divine?
Divine.
Okay.
You know it's
divine, yeah.
Okay.
Matthew, you have a whole book dedicated to you. You better rewrite.
I keep telling people I never write crap.
I'm Jesus' brother. Sorry. My first name's James, so I'm basically Jesus' brother. So if you need reference, sometimes I have to look things up, though. Google is your friend.
Okay, let me answer this. That was divine. That was from Genesis 3:14.
Hallelujah.
All right, you guys. Number 9. When wisdom increaseth, sorrow shall also abound, for knowledge carrieth the burden of truth. Asherah.
Okay. I'm gonna say divine.
Okay, you know.
What? I was looking at the comments and replying.
I told you stop doing that, sir.
Wait, I get called up. God damn it, I'm human.
You guys, please quit tagging him.
Jesus forgave me. Why can't you?
Because I'm Jesus. No, I'm sorry.
Shut up.
Okay, ready? Listen. When wisdom increaseth, sorrow shall also abound, for knowledge carrieth the burden of truth.
That's divine.
Okay, Aaron.
Divine.
Okay, Matthew.
I hate these rules.
I want to say decline.
You're wrong.
Okay, yeah, well, you would be right. That is decline. That was made up.
All right, send me that shit in a text. I'm going to look it up, and I'm going to prove this wrong later in life.
Made it up. You want me to send you what she made up so you can prove it's in the Bible?
I got to stop watching the internet, I be on the internet too much, learning stuff, and I can't remember what's true and what's not.
Oh, man. He's wrecking the game, Crystal.
I can't believe that. I can't believe it.
All right, say it one more time, seriously, because I need to implant this and come back later.
You want me to say the last one that I made up again? Okay, the last one I said was, when wisdom increaseth, sorrow shall also abound, for knowledge carrieth the burden of truth.
But that's true.
But it's not
true, but I made it up. It's not in the Bible.
Well, it's in some book. I have read that shit
somewhere. It's in the Book of Crystal. It's in the book.
I went to a lot of counseling. Jesus
It's in the
Christ.
book of
Okay.
Crystal.
We are on number 10, and this is what I like to tell everybody. Number 10 is for all the marbles. If you get this one right, you won the game no matter about everything else you did. We don't care. We wipe the scoreboard clean, but you have to get it right. Okay, here you go.
No pressure, people. No pressure.
So Jesus was saying to those Jews who had believed him, if you continue in my word, then you are truly my disciples. Ashra.
Divine.
All right, you know.
Can we skip me and come back?
Oh my God.
Jesus.
He's cracking me
I
up
think
here.
it's divine, but if I
Say,
get this wrong,
I've never seen Crystal have so much difficulty with this game. I'm gonna say
Usually goes a little bit quicker, yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna say it's divine.
Okay, Aaron.
Divine.
All right, Matthew.
I'm gonna be the black sheep. I'm gonna say decline just because I can.
Well, you lost, Matthew, and everybody else won. That was divine. That was John 8:31,
Have to do that.
and that is today's game of divine or decline.
That was the money ball, and it's like at $1 billion plus, and you lost, motherfucker.
Yeah, you lose on purpose. It's fun.
Yeah, I served. The motherfucker thing was just us being funny with each other. I apologize.
No, it was entertaining.
Matthew, when do you go live next?
I might actually go live after this. I'll take a 15-20 minute break or so, get a couple things taken care of, and then go live. But I'm usually live most weekday mornings. So typically between 9 to 10 a.m. is when I'll go live, and then I'll be live for 2 to 4 hours depending on the day.
I'll go there despite your animosity and anger towards me as a person, and I will support you because Jesus I'm fucking around. Love you, Matthew.
You guys make sure you follow Matthew and then join him in about 15-20 minutes. Go get yourself a donut, a cup of coffee. Make sure your dog has been fed or whatever, and then join Matthew live right after this. I'm going to let you know about a couple of things you should know about. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time, right here on my channel and on my YouTube channel, I will be live with Deconstruction Zone Justin. And you all want to come up and ask him questions all the time. It's your time. Don't be shy. Come up, ask him questions. We'll also be playing Divine or Decline with him, and he understands the rules. So it goes a little
He's really good at it too. He's really good at it.
Wait a minute. So I get messed up with your lives because I'm over here on the East Coast. So you said 11. So I'm 3 hours behind.
2.
So
it's 2 o'clock your time.
I'm ahead of you?
You're ahead of me. 2 p.m.
well,
your
shit,
time.
I was gonna join at 8 a.m. So I need to join at 2 p.m.
Yeah, 2 p.m.
This is why I'm
2
never
p.m.
on. Okay.
And that's 1 p.m. Central.
I've been
Central.
waiting to get Justin so I can ask him something. So I'm taking full advantage of it.
I'll just be needing an invite, y'all. If I'm awake, I will come. If I'm not, I will sleep.
Okay.
That's all we ask.
It's usually how that works.
So if you're over on YouTube, make sure you join tomorrow as well. I don't have super chats enabled, but I will read your questions out to him. So have your questions ready. Make sure you're following my channel. Hit the little bell here and hit the little bell over there if you want to be notified immediately when we go live tomorrow. Also, on Sunday at 11 a.m. I have Jay Gilmore, also known as Javarius. If you haven't watched him, he's also an amazing creator. We'll be live right after Ass with Mezzo and possibly Joel. Atheist Sunday School. Mezzo goes live usually every Sunday morning, and when he finishes up right around 11 a.m. Pacific time, I'll be live with Jay Gilmore for Decon Q&A with CrystalJae. And then I've got a lot more coming up, and I will let you guys know. Some of you creators out there, if you want to be on the show, DM me. I if I haven't asked you, sometimes it's because I haven't built up the courage yet to ask you. Like, you have no idea. It's hard to ask all these creators, send them little messages. Hey, would you be on my little show? And so rejection, a fear of rejection is a real thing, and even I have it. So if you want to be on the show, you can also DM me. I'd love to have you on my show. They're 3 hours long, so I ask you to make a 3-hour commitment, and I work around your schedule. So anyway, that is what I've got going on. I want to thank you, Matthew, so much for being here. I really enjoyed
appreciate it.
talking to you today and getting to know you better. And thank you for the bread pudding recipe. You guys, everybody go catch that on the Discord in my channel. And thank you, Aaron, and Ashra for coming up and playing the game with me today. And thank you, everybody who was in chat, who came and asked questions, and everybody over on YouTube. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And Matthew, I hope we can do this in a few more months. Do it again, okay?
Yeah, definitely,
I love that everybody's got good looks and brains. Everybody. And Matthew, I'm making an exception with you because the beard, I can't really tell jawline, etc. But from this distance and with one eye, you look incredible, my friend.
Appreciate that.
But you're getting old.
Matthew, thank you for answering my questions. I appreciate it. And I followed you, so I'm going to jump on over to your live if you go live.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I'll be live in just a little while.
I'll hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect.
All right, you guys, I'll see you around the mean streets of TikTok and YouTube. Goodbye.